is driven by Auto Centers Nissan, home of the lifetime warranty and 30-day return. Live from the Car Shield studio, this is the opening drive on 101 ESPN.
Good morning, everyone, and happy Friday from the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis. We're at 7:01. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke Grimsley, Danny Mack, Bradford Bruns in for Matthew Rocchio. I'm Randy Carricker, and it's great to have you with us. How are we doing on a lovely Friday morning, kids?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic because it's Friday. It's beautiful outside.
Want some second alert weather, Brooke?
I was about to ask for second alert weather.
Okay.
Breaking news coming in right now.
63 degrees at the moment. A high in St. Louis today of 78 degrees. Sun throughout, no clouds, and today is a perfect day for golf or a bike ride or pickleball outdoors. Whatever you're planning to do, within reason, do it outdoors. There are some things that you just shouldn't do outdoors because it'll get you arrested.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, here's the thing.
Even though the weather for it is great.
The weather is fantastic outside. It's beautiful. Now, is this weather fooling us? Is my question. Is this going to stay? Because it feels like fall. Last night I was outside. It was beautiful. It was stunning outside. And I'm like, this feels like perfect fall weather, but I didn't know if it was going to stay that way.
This is St. Louis. And so, yes,
I'm kind of asking you to go a little bit out of your realm of possibilities here with second alert weather because we're not first.
Here's the issue. We love this. Dan, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Here's the issue with this, and I know where you're coming from, Brooke, and we're wondering, okay, are the changes in our environment going to cause us to have this weather all the time, which would be pretty wonderful. But here's the bad part of it, is that we won't be able to afford to live here anymore. I mean, because
it's like San Diego.
Creve Coeur Park will become like La Jolla.
I see no difference. I see why there was a correlation there.
Well, and San Diego has a baseball team that's playing better. The Cardinals lose last night to the Rays by a score of 6-4. Cardinals looked like they were in good shape here until Tampa scored 3 in the top of the 7th inning. They scored another run in the top of the 9th, and they knock off the Redbirds. Brandon Lowe, his home run. What are we going with here?
It's Lau.
Okay. His home run escaped the grasp of the leaping Victor Scott II, and the Rays take the finale of the 3-game series by a score of 6-4. Kyle Gibson, and Danny and I were talking about this earlier, he goes 6 innings, allows 8 hits, 2 runs, and Gibby is taken out after just 91 pitches. Were you guys thinking after the 6th, he's got to come out for the 7th? What were your thoughts? I was thinking that it was a lock, that he would come back and maybe get to 110 pitches.
I did
and
too.
Finish the 7th.
Yeah, if you get to 110, you're probably running into a little bit of trouble, but I would let him start the 7th. And if the first guy gets on, then I probably yank him. If he gets 2 guys on, for sure I'm going to yank him. Only 91 pitches. I give the Rays credit in this game. One of the things that they did, and I'll be interested to see if it was just because of the personnel the Cardinals had, or is this a trend against St. Louis, but they went after first pitch strikes.
Yeah.
I mean, they went really aggressive early in counts, and we saw that with Romero, who gave up the 2-run homer. Bullpen was not good last night. Leahy, 2 earned runs. Romero, the home run, gave up 1 earned run. The other one was charged to Leahy, and then Armstrong, an earned run as well. So 4 earned coming out of your pen. And the other thing that you had to go into with the game is that you knew Ryan Helsley was down. So would you go to your bullpen as early as they did? I don't think I would have done that. I'd give Gibson a little bit more of a run, and if he runs into any kind of trouble, I'd take him out. Now, it's easy to say that, hindsight 2020, but still, that's the way it played out, and the bullpen did not do their job.
I'm with you guys. I would have kept him in there, but, there's a lot of different circumstances going on. To your point, I thought it was really interesting how aggressive the Rays were on the first pitch, and I think that was something they picked up on, but I thought it was a good, typical Kyle Gibson start because he was able to recognize that and make adjustments along the way. So that's another reason why I would have kept him him in the game in that situation. But you also have to see what you have with your bullpen. So I understand that regard, too. You have to know what you have with Kyle Leahy, with JoJo Romero, with all these other guys, even Sean Armstrong coming into the game.
Honorary member of the Holy Trinity?
Not yet? I guess the jury's still out.
Not yet.
Still
Okay.
out. Yeah. The jury's still out on that one. But
I do think there's some coming out of the Holy Trinity.
But I'm with you guys. I think that I would have kept him in that situation a little bit longer. There was some positives in this game. If we want to go sunshine and lollipops, I know not everybody wants to hear that after you were not. There you go. Thank you.
We're together.
There was some sunshine and lollipops. We talked about this over and over again. I know that we've been waiting for this all season for Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado to get going. Nolan Arenado was great, not only at the plate with what he was able to do, 3 for 3 with an RBI, but also defensively. We got to see more of, which, I mean, defensively, he hasn't exactly dropped off, so I'm not discrediting that. But I'm saying really what he was doing last night, like that bunt and the double play there, I mean, that whole situation was Gold Glove, what you expect to see from Nolan Arenado. And you had Paul Goldschmidt going a little bit. He was actually able to drive in Nolan Arenado twice in the game, which I don't know when's the last time I felt like I saw that. It feels like maybe it's been a bit since we've seen that. And for both those guys to get going, and I'm curious about if you guys think that something has changed with Nolan Arenado and his swing here recently.
Well, he's 14 for his last 38, and the OPS is nearly 900. And when you get 3 of the 4 runs brought in by those 2 guys, you say, okay, can someone else drive in a run or 2, and then you win the game? And that's what you've been wanting to see, Goldie and Arenado, a combination to drive in some runs. You mentioned the double play. I thought it was the best double play they've turned this year.
Oh,
it was great.
He did that, by the way, against Tampa 2 years ago. Similar type play. Bunt was down, takes the chance, goes to second base, and you can't discredit in that double play the arm of Mason Wynn.
No.
There are not many shortstops that make that turn. That was awesome. That double play, that's baseball, man. That is fun to watch, and even though they lost the game, that's something that stood out for me in the game.
You would not think that a veteran player would try too hard. You'd think that, okay, he's been around for 11, 12 years. You'd think that, okay, he is what he is and he knows what he is. But one thing about Nolan Arenado is that he does expand his zone, and his zone is different than most right-handed hitters. He's not a high ball hitter. He's a low ball hitter. And one of the things that I noticed, and we've noticed it over the course of this little hot streak, is he is laying off the four-seamer. He's waiting for the pitcher to come down in the zone, and that's the ball that he's hitting.
So to kind of equate it to somebody else, if you're watching Nolan Gorman, for example, four-seamers up, they're going to get him out. Yeah, and they're going to get him out. And if the ball is down and into a lefty, like normally it seems to be typical for a left-handed batter for whatever reason, he's going to drive the baseball. But I don't know, guys. Frustrating night, generally speaking, because I think that game was there for the taking.
It was frustrating because we talked about it yesterday. You needed to sweep the series, in my opinion, because of how close things are. By the way, don't know if you saw what was happening with the Brewers in Atlanta, but they definitely beat up on the Braves. They swept the series, and it was a 16-7 victory for the Brewers last night to sweep the series. They piled up 31 runs against the Atlanta Braves in the entire 3-game series.
54 hits in 3 games.
And had 19 walks, 8 home runs, 6 stolen bases. This is, put it in perspective, no other team in Major League history has reached all the numbers that we just talked about over any 3-game span. Now think of it, and they're doing that against the Atlanta Braves.
Right.
And I know Atlanta's not playing well, but I don't care who you're playing. That was a historic series that they put together. So they're going to be tough to catch. You still have those 7 head-to-head, but that's where you got to make hay if you're the Cardinals.
With the Brewers, I think that a lot of us think that they're overachieving. And if you kind of look at, especially when we talked about run differential and all that stuff of what's expected of them, they've had so many injuries this season, but I feel like they have a better offensive approach. I was thinking about this last night about what's the difference between the two organizations right now. I know that maybe you can look at the talent, different things like that, but I think they have a better offensive approach. They focus on more productive at-bats, and they run a lot in their games. And I think that that's one of the big differences between the two.
My impression of the Brewers, and maybe I'm unfair to them, but it's a compliment. I think that during this great run that they've had with Counsell and Stearns and the group that they have now with Pat Murphy in charge in the dugout, I think they get more out of less better than any other team in the National League.
They kind of remind me of Tampa Bay.
Yeah,
right. A little bit of Tampa Bay. Now, they gave the big contract to Yelich, and that's up for debate whether or not that's going to work out. And I think for the most part, you could say it has. The problem is the back end may get ugly because he's been dealing with a back injury. And by the way, it's been dealing with that for a long time. Long time.
This is a long,
Don't encourage him.
Issue.
Don't do it. I try to go down different ways to say a weak back.
Thank you.
A sore back. Mm-hmm. Issues with the backside.
I'm always going to find a way.
I know you will. But that is up for debate, before it's all said and done, how that contract plays out. But they found guys to plug and play. And the Hader deal, I don't agree with that. I think it cost them down the stretch of that season. But they're going to get, they've got sitting in the back end, kid from St. Louis. It's pretty good, Devin Williams. So watch out. They're starting to get a little bit healthier as they go down the stretch.
They make the trade for Rowdy Tellez. Willie Adames winds up being better than I think anybody ever imagined that Willie Adames would be. They lose a key cog in Lorenzo Cain when he falls off and retires, and they wind up replacing him effectively. I just think they do a really good job. By the way, a bad night for the Cardinals and the rest of the league. Padres knock off the Pirates 7-6. The Phillies knock off the Diamondbacks, so that's good news for the Cardinals. But the Mets won, and so right now the Cardinals are 2.5 back in the wild card race, and they're 5 behind the Padres. Padres are in first place in the wild card. They're now 12 games over 500. The Diamondbacks are still a game behind the Padres, but a game and a half up on the Mets, who hold the third wild card. Braves now out of the wild card and out of the playoffs if they started today, and the Cardinals 2.5 behind the Mets and falling further. Today, the Cardinals will pitch Miles Mikolas in Kansas City. Weird 2-game weekend series. Michael Lorenzen, an unfortunate victim of the designated hitter taking place all over baseball. He'll go for Kansas City, and it's just today and tomorrow, and then Sunday off for the Cardinals. Michael Lorenzen may be the best hitting pitcher of the era of the last half dozen years or so.
He's pretty good, and he's built like a tank. And so he gets up there. I actually wanted to see the Cardinals go after Lorenzen and use him as a bullpen piece this offseason. I'm going to go back to Milwaukee for just a moment. The Cardinals are just 4 games above 500 at home, and I keep harping on this. Milwaukee's 10 games above 500 at home.
Yeah.
And the run differential is significant. Plus 101. The Cardinals are minus 46. That's a big difference when you talk about run differential. If you're buying into that stuff, which I wait till the end of the season, but as you edge closer, I start taking a harder look at it. That is a significant difference between the two teams.
Yeah, I think it's a huge difference between the two. And kind of touching on the run differential there, I mean, it is really high for the Brewers. I still want to be clear about that it is high for the Brewers. It's just expectation-wise, with all these injuries, did you think that they would be able to sustain the success this season?
No.
That's what I'm talking about when I'm saying overachieving.
16 starting pitchers, or 17 now.
Minus Corbin Burns.
Right. And
the drama to start the season where you have a new manager coming in, that whole situation.
Never had Devin Williams. It's amazing. What they've been able to do.
Pat Murphy's, in my mind, along with Mike Schilt right now, would be the manager of the year.
Yeah, I agree.
Mike Schilt is getting now the most out of what is a very talented. I think a lot of people looked at baseball and said, why can't the Padres win with all the talent they have and big names and big contracts that they've given out? And sometimes it's tough to mesh those guys, and it seems like he's starting to get them to mesh. And, typical Mike Schilt in a very small sample size, getting teams to play better down the stretch, and that's what he's doing.
And I was talking to Bradford about this earlier. A.J. Preller does a really good job, their general manager, of collecting stars, but not necessarily building a unit. Well, the best guy right now at building a unit, and like you could say, getting players to mesh, is Mike Schilt.
Yep.
Getting players like Xander Bogaerts was pissed when they moved him to second base. And it works. And Xander Bogaerts, you could argue, is their MVP this year. How quiet has the great season for Fernando Tatis Jr. been? They've done most of this, by the way, without Machado, too.
Yep.
And they lost a starting rotation. They lost Snell. They lost Seth Lugo, who's maybe the best free agent signing of the offseason.
Darvish has been hurt.
Darvish has been hurt. Musgrove has been hurt. They lost to Nick Martinez to free agency. It's unbelievable what they lost to free agency, and here they are still where they are.
Yeah, it's a great story, and don't count them out right now, and don't count the Arizona Diamondbacks right now out of the NL West. And they're gaining ground too.
And they've got Rodriguez and Merrill Kelly back, and they'll be a snootful.
Can you imagine, though, they need to get Jordan Montgomery on track. And I know that it's been all season that he's been up and down, but if they could get him on track, man, they've really added something to that rotation, too.
And they also, Paul Sewald, their closer, they need to get him back on the beam, as Greg mentioned yesterday. That's Dan, that's Brooke, I'm Randy. By the way, the USA men's basketball team, a winner yesterday over Matthew Rocchio's Serbia.
Yes, Serbia. Yes. It was a little bit closer than I think a lot of people were expecting. Nerve-wracking.
It was pretty cool. We're going to talk about it next on the opening drive on 101 ESPN.
Stupiracy, the podcast where stupidity meets history and conspiracy.
You gotta question these things.
With hosts Scott Rizzuto and Tim McKernan.
I'm here to learn, everybody.
Check out the latest episode, available now. As Riz and Tim dive into the surprising and fascinating history of the middle finger.
What's that supposed to mean?
From ancient Greece to modern day controversies, discover how this gesture became a powerful symbol of defiance.
Don't insult me, okay?
Presented by Evergreen Wealth Strategies. Visit evergreenstl.com or call Mark at 314-889-0503. And by Brown and Crouppen, 222-2222 or getbc.com.
These days, everything in St. Louis costs more. But somehow, Verizon costs less, as low as $50 for a single line when you switch. So while coffee is definitely costing more, Verizon costs less. And dinner on the hill for two has gotten pricey. Verizon, less pricey. Rent and Ladue, that's not coming down anytime soon. But Verizon, down. Just $50 a line. Limited edition sneakers, through the roof. Verizon prices, through the floor. That designer golden doodle, so much more. A single line on Verizon, a fair bit less. Even a good old tried and true hamburger will cost you more. But with Verizon, the same good old tried and true service now costs you less. Point is, in a world that is always costing more, you can get more for less right now at a St. Louis Verizon store. $180 BYOD and $360 local promo credits applied over 36 months. For new customers.
This is the opening drive on 101 ESPN. Brought to you by Sumner One.
Best games I've ever been a part of. We dug deep in down 15 that late in the game. And the fourth quarter dominance that we showed, I think we won, 34-15. And by our defense and getting out and running transition, we barely called plays. We just played off of each other well.
It's impossible to rank Steph's performances because there have been so many of them, so many big games. But it's different playing for USA basketball than it is playing for your NBA team. You know, you're literally playing for your country. And so it didn't surprise me.
Kevin Durant and Steve Kerr, head coach of USA Basketball, they win yesterday and are on their way to the gold medal game. Man, they were down 17 at one point, down 13 entering the fourth quarter, and came back to win, knocking off Serbia 95-91. Steph Curry was brilliant, scoring 36. He had an amazing start and really kept the USA club in the game. And then down the stretch, it was Joel. It was everybody, really. It was Joel Embiid. You had Curry hitting huge free throws. They've had 5 different leading scorers for USA in the 5 Olympic Games now, and none of them have been from their best player, and their key player down the stretch again yesterday, LeBron James.
Yeah, LeBron James is just absolutely fantastic. Now, in that game, it was a lot closer than I think a lot of people were expecting, and I know somebody pointed on the text line that we all thought that at least 30-plus points because they've been so dominant here down the stretch. Why do you guys think that it got as close as it did?
Well, the Serbians relied on the 3, and then Jokic was awesome. I mean, those were the 2 things that I looked at. They relied on the 3, and then that individual was just incredible.
He's unstoppable.
He is, and they switch on him, and you can't switch on him. He gets in the paint. There's a mismatch there, and he takes advantage of it. But that's all footwork. That's understanding how they move offensively. He's awesome. I thought lockdown defense at the end, when you had NBA players that amped it up and said, okay, we're going to play lockdown defense. You saw how good they can be. Steph Curry, as you mentioned, he said after the game, this could be my last crack at it of getting a gold medal. It was different than what it felt like going for an NBA championship. He said he wasn't sure what it would feel like, but he said, now I understand what this means to me and the country. And then the surprising bench struggles that they've had. I think that's something that looks that you have to look at, and the combinations that Steve Kerr went with, there was really none in the fourth quarter. And he just said, hey, I'm sticking with these guys.
And Dan, speaking of Steph Curry, he's going to get all of his flowers, and rightfully so, for pouring in 36 points, second most prolific scoring output in an Olympic game from an American besides Carmelo Anthony. But speaking of the defense as well, that is one area in which in these Olympic games, you have really seen him commit, and a lot of his teammates, in a way that you simply don't during the course of an NBA regular season. I understand that it's different, fundamentally speaking, but at halftime, you really detected some adjustments on the defensive end from the United States, and they embraced the notion of actually leaning into the more physical-laden FIBA game. In the first half, Jokic, he had his way. He's going to do that. He's a 3-time MVP. He's transformative. But when Embiid really took it upon himself in half number 2 to basically get Jokic into some foul trouble too and deny him more of those touches in the post, extending him beyond the elbow, that's when you really saw the switch flip. And in the fourth quarter, everybody seemingly had his own turn on both ends of the floor. It was majestic to watch.
And the key in the game, in my mind, was not only defensively, and you talk about commitment, and these guys, Durant, LeBron, Embiid, is, for me in particular, were great defensively, but the 3 that Durant hit in front of the Serbian bench, and then there was a foul, and then all of a sudden you had another 3 after that, and that kind of turned the tide in the game, late in the game, and that was the key play for me.
But what about Steph Curry's? Do you think it was arguably, now I know it's not done yet because they're still going for gold, but was that arguably the biggest shot of Curry's career, that 3-pointer with it was around 2 minutes left to play in the game?
He's had a lot of them, though.
I know, and that's the thing. But that was a huge, huge moment, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Biggest moment of the game, probably.
Yeah, it was huge. I go back to Durant's 3. I thought that was the key in the game. He gets fouled. They push a defender into him. To me, when I saw it at first, I thought he was hurt.
Yeah,
I thought he was going to have like a hyperextended knee or a broken ankle, and he hopped right back up.
AD, falling into his legs.
There's some big dudes that are out there, man.
Yeah. They had to use, and people are wondering why Jason Tatum wasn't used more.
That would also be known as Tatum.
Yeah.
Right. And why do you go with Tatum here, Randy?
Well,
Let's
Nicholas
explain
Batum, I thought that was just a proper pronunciation. We'll see Nicholas Batum on Saturday,
right?
By the way, in the gold medal game, maybe against Jason Tatum. But I trust and have faith in Steve Kerr more than I have faith in my own coaching ability. And there's a reason that Tatum didn't play against Serbia in either of these games. And the matchups just weren't there in Steve Kerr's mind, and obviously it worked out.
I found it really interesting that Steve Kerr stayed with basically the rotation that he had down the stretch. And in some of the exhibition games, he's rotating guys in. He's trying different combinations. And when it counted the most, he thought, this is the best 5 that I got. And a lot of it had to do with what they were doing on the defensive end.
And I had no quibbles whatsoever with the way that personnel was utilized yesterday. At the end of the day, you check in, you look at the box score, and you see, if you're more of a casual observer, wait a second, Derek White, the last-minute addition to Team USA, he's somehow getting minutes. He's somehow playing in this game of consequence, and Jason Tatum isn't. Well, as we said right before the start of the show, guys, I think a lot of this has to do with the fact Devin Booker's emergence on both sides of the floor. We know that he's a sharpshooter for Phoenix, but on the global stage, not as many people were aware of just how adept he can be defensively. So if you're starting a 2-guard lineup,
I don't think Frank Vogel was.
Yeah, for sure. Backcourt, if you have Drew Holiday and Devin Booker, and LeBron is going to orchestrate the point when it matters the most, then these minutes are not going to be there in a surplus for Jason Tatum. It's just going to work out that way. And when you have that much cohesiveness and continuity in the fourth quarter, you're not going to suddenly insert him into the flow at that point.
So let's spin it forward. Tomorrow, you've got Wemby, you've got Gobert, you've got Batum, you've got a lot of size to deal with if you're the USA. And the reason that you have Embiid, AD, and Adebayo on this team, Bam, the reason that you have those big 3 are twofold. Number one, because you wanted to have 3 guys. You needed 3 guys if you ever needed to have multiple people to foul Jokic. The other reason is because France has such great size. You don't have to worry about Gobert on the offensive end, but Wemby is turning into a really polished player, and the USA will have their hands full with him. I think it's going to come down to the guards again. I think it'll be a lot like yesterday with Booker and Curry offensively, and then they just have to find a way, and I think Embiid will play a big role in trying to neutralize Wemby.
I want to go back to Jason Tatum just for 1 minute. And I do understand what you guys are saying about the matchups. And, of course, he didn't play Serbia, as you like to say, the first time around in the exhibition play. But don't you think that maybe this will really motivate Jason Tatum going into the season? Because I'm predicting the MVP season for him after this. Just the fact that 3 straight All-NBA first teams, winning a gold medal back in, 2020, the last time that they played, while being the second leading scorer on the team, and just won his first NBA championship. And then you're on the bench at a big situation, big game like that where it was close. I think it'll be an MVP season for Jason Tatum.
I would think that he's frustrated,
He'll be the MVP against Golden State when they take on Steve Kerr.
Some extra motivation there.
A little extra motivation. I don't know what you guys thought, but for me, that was the best USA basketball game I had ever seen. And just because, and I'm not talking, the other games are blowouts. And I was completely wrong. I thought yesterday would be a blowout. I thought that they would cover. I was like, just hand them the gold. I was completely wrong. But I thought the ending 7 minutes was as fun to watch NBA players that I'd ever seen.
I don't know how you disagree with that point. And we need collectively, in my opinion, to let go of this narrative of, oh my goodness gracious, the U.S. is not blowing out each and every competitor by 30-plus points. This is a different era than in 1992 when the Dream Team routinely put it on the opposition. The game has evolved. It has grown so much, in large part because of the Dream Team. These are legitimate squads with not only high-level NBA players, but contributors in all sorts of leagues across the nation. So yesterday being as tight as it was, okay, maybe not that tight. It didn't surprise me, though, that Serbia with Jokic and, in addition, Bogdanovic, he had a fantastic game. These guys were shooting the lights out, and it was highly entertaining.
And this team is different than the Dream Team in that Steve Kerr has been a part of USA basketball for 5 years. There is a system in place implemented by Jerry Colangelo and Mike Krzyzewski, and then Pop last time, and now Steve Kerr. And these players have all, except for Curry, played on the Olympic stage, if not, and Curry's played on the international stage. But there is a formula now for USA basketball with the Dream Team. The reason that we have this is because we had the Dream Team and all the All-Stars, but in 2004, they just threw all the All-Stars together and they lost. Well, there needs to be a system in place, and there is. And next time, whether it's Spoelstra or Ty Lue or Mark Few, all of these guys work together on a regular basis during the NBA season and during the offseason, building their USA basketball program. It's not just a team that they throw together. The USA has a program now.
Do you think if these guys had, let's say, 6 months together, so you collect the USA basketball team for 6 months, how dominant they might be, because then you'd have a familiarity with combinations,
Yes.
knowing what you want to do late, 5 minutes left in the game, defensively, how you want to approach it with these guys.
Tatum would go, what the hell?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Scary.
it'd be scary to see. Just give them 6 months. Like the German team was together for 10 years.
Yeah.
That's
You know?
insane.
You know, the other thing we have to do is this is crazy to say, but LeBron James is underrated. We are not appreciating as a country and as a
100%.
fan base what we're watching.
He's awesome.
Yeah,
and
at 39.
We can say the Michael debate, the LeBron debate. Give me, and I'm not talking about who I want on the floor at the end of the game. I'm just saying that we don't give him enough credit for what he's doing and the fact that he can still lock up defenders. And I don't care if you go outside the perimeter or you want to take him down on the block. He still can lock you up. It's amazing.
This is a collection of the best players in the world, and he is, and there's no doubt about it, you could be a novice, have never watched a game, and know that he's the best guy among all the best players.
The best of the best, and almost 40 years old. He's just continuing to show how dominant he is. I don't know if you really think that he's underrated? I feel like he does get a lot of credit for what he's able to do.
He does get a ton of credit.
But I think, is it because he also gets a lot of flack?
Well, the reason that I think he's underrated is because he doesn't win the MVP every year. I think we look at him, I think we kind of take him for granted. I think that's why he's underrated, because he really has been the best guy since 2004. Now, there have been some years where other guys have put up better numbers, but I don't think that we give him enough credit for being the best. Like, I've asked the question of Matthew before. Okay, let's name the 4 best players in the NBA, and we don't include him. We include Jokic and Doncic and Giannis, but LeBron's the best guy.
And I think part of it, Randy, is that the Lakers stink. If they didn't stink and he was leading the way for another playoff appearance and a run and getting to an NBA championship, maybe the focal point would be him a little bit more in the national media.
This is the bottom line. I'm glad that everyone is getting to witness this on this stage because, Brooke, to your point, at 39 years of age, here's the bottom line. Yesterday, in advancing and getting U.S. to the championship game, he's playing point guard in the second half. He's facilitating and orchestrating the entire offense, and he is embracing the defensive assignment of taking on Nikola Jokic in the post. That's all you need to say.
That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the leading scorers in the 5 Olympic Games for the USA, Durant with 23, Adebayo with 18, Edwards with 26, Booker with 18, and yesterday Curry with 36. So you've had 5 different leading scorers, but your best player hasn't led you in scoring once.
I like that.
This is definitely the most talented Team USA team, by the way. Just want to go ahead and throw that out there. We've had those dream team debates, not trying to take away anything, redeem team, but this is such a talented group. Going back to Tatum, the fact that he's not even playing in this game, I think says a lot. You still don't think so?
No. Give me
Really?
92.
Yeah.
But think about the level of talent that they're playing against.
I think it's the
team is
level of
playing
competition
against.
that they're seeing.
So if you have Magic, Bird, Michael, Barkley, Ewing in their prime, with Robinson coming off the bench, and Malone and Stockton and
all Hall of Famers.
Yeah, right.
Now, there's going to be a lot of Hall of Famers on this team, too, but I go back to maybe it's just because they blew out every single team, and that's why we say this, but I'm with you, Randy. I don't know if it's tough to go against that 92 team.
Right. Yeah. Scottie Pippen was on that team.
Yep.
Maybe the athleticism. You could make that contention. Athleticism here.
We just talked about LeBron being one of the greatest ever, too.
He is, yeah. But, well, this is a conversation for another time. Coming up next, we'll talk to Jay Delsing about what's going on in the golf world next on 101 ESPN.
This weekend, the MLB plays on ESPN. Tomorrow, Mariners and Mets. Game 1, coverage starts at 8 p.m. Then Sunday, it's Game 2. Coverage starts at 5. Your home for the MLB is 101 ESPN. can now watch 101 ESPN live on our Air Alliance Team Studio Cams. Catch every show live on our YouTube channel or at 101ESPN.com. 101 ESPN Studio Cams.
Presented by the Air Alliance Team Heating and Cooling. Getting the job done quickly, correctly, 100% of the time.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
Rays Salvage Series finale. I'm Bradford Bruns with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Starter Kyle Gibson tossed 6 innings of 2-run ball, but Tampa Bay got to Ali Marmol's relief corps last night at Busch Stadium. Visitors prevail 6-4 as St. Louis cannot secure that sweep. Nolan Arenado does wrap 3 hits. This evening, the Cardinals visit Kansas City. Miles Michaelis opposes Michael Lorenzen. Elsewhere, red-hot San Diego nips Pittsburgh 7-6. Milwaukee bludgeons Atlanta 16-7, while Philly knocks off Arizona 6-4. Paris Olympics Team USA survives against Serbia 95-91, setting up tomorrow's gold medal bout versus France. Jay Delsing may touch upon round 3 of women's golf, also underway. He's coming up next. This Sports Center update was driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Grimsley, Dan McLaughlin, Randy Carricker, and we go to the celebrity line, and our buddy Jay Delsing joins us here on 101 ESPN. Jay was over at the APGA event on Wednesday. Always good to see Jay's smiling face. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Good morning. Hey, Randy, who won the Pro-Am over there? I can't remember.
Oh, it was McKernan's team. McKernan's team. I finished second. Aaron Grimes, man, my pro, he was outstanding. So we finished in second with my group. I had a really good group. But, yeah, McKernan, as usual, puts together a team of ringers.
I thought you guys won.
We were close. We were only 2 shots off the pace. So, but
yeah, there's a lot of low scores. There might have been some pencil whipping going on over there. I'm not sure, man. There was a lot of low scores. Holy smokes.
There were. We had a really good team. Aaron Grimes, our pro on the APGA Tour, was really good. And then we had 2 great female players that were outstanding. Linda Robin and also Becky was great, and so we had a really good group, and it was a lot of fun. Hey, Jay, Chichi Rodriguez died yesterday. I wanted to know, first of all, if you ever crossed paths with Chichi.
I did. I got to play with Chichi, and he invited me to go to Puerto Rico, and he had a foundation down there for junior golf, and so, man, I got to tell you guys, one time I went down to Puerto Rico and made a mistake of jumping in a cab because they advised us not to rent a car because it was dangerous, and we should only use the transportation from the tournament that we were doing for Chichi. And we decided to go out and have dinner with a friend, and I was in a cab, and we were on a 2-lane road heading towards this restaurant, and we were 4 abreast, all headed in one direction. All 4 cars in 2 lanes, heading one direction. And I'm like, I've never seen anything like that before. Thank God we got to the restaurant okay. But, yeah, Chichi Rodriguez was a character, and he did so much for the game of golf, especially in Puerto Rico. He was very, very – what's interesting, Randy, is I watched some of these when I was a young guy getting on tour, I watched some of these older guys do their clinics because I knew that being part of being a professional was how do you do a clinic, and I didn't have a clue when I was first on tour. Chichi Rodriguez stood on the tee, and he took out a 6-iron, and the first ball he hit this little high looping fade, and then jumped on the tee real quickly after that and hit this low hook, and he said his balls collided. Now, I did not see them actually touch, but they did cross paths where he hit these 2 shots, and it was super cool. So he goes down as this guy that could make the 2 balls collide. I actually never saw that happen, but I saw him come really close. He was a character. He was the guy that you guys, when he would make a putt, he had trouble with his putter, to say the least. But when he had a putt, it was the sword fight thing. He would take his putter out and act like he was in a sword fight with the hole, which it looked like he was oftentimes.
Jay, it was great seeing you the other day as we're getting ready for the Ascension Charity Classic, which everybody's looking forward to over at Norwood Hills Country Club. We had the Legends Breakfast, and it was great chatting with two Hall of Famers in Ozzie Smith and Judy Rankin. And Judy, I enjoyed that interview so much with her and Ozzie, but I learned so much more about her. And I don't know if a lot of people here realize all the adversity that she went through. She's obviously the greatest female golfer out of St. Louis who got her start over at Forest Park. How much was Judy Rankin a trailblazer, not only for women's golf, but for the golf world?
Oh, my gosh, Brooke, first of all, you did a phenomenal job interviewing those two guys. I really enjoyed the conversation. But, yeah, Judy Rankin started playing golf at 7 years old at Forest Park. And her mother, unfortunately, died when she was about 10. And so it was just she and her father. And after and her dad was an avid golfer, so after he saw Judy swing the club, when she was 6 or 7, he decided, well, you're going to be a golfer. And I don't think she had much of a choice. But, yeah, they didn't have a whole lot of money. They hopped around. They lived in some rough parts of the town back in the day. And she played out at AAA, which is in Forest Park. And to do what she did in a really, really short period of time on the LPGA Tour was ridiculous. She won 26 times. But, Brooke, she told a story, and this was just fascinating. She told a story that when she was about, I think her mother had just died, so she was just right in that 10 or 12 years of age, her dad wanted to take her down and play in this Pee Wee Junior World Tournament that was down in Florida. And it was right around her birthday time, and the members at AAA all got together and bought her a suitcase. And she was so excited. They were trying to figure out how they were going to pay for this trip to Florida. And when she opened the suitcase, there was $400 in there. And so they used that $400 to get back to Florida, get down to Florida, get back to St. Louis. Long story short, she wins the tournament, but she started the foundation. It's called the Judy Rankin Suitcase Foundation, where she lives in West Texas right now, and she raises money for all sorts of boys, girls to go play tournaments that where they can't afford the travel and things like that. So really and one of the coolest people I've ever met, you guys, and she was more of as good a golfer as she was in a Hall of Fame career. She was probably the best commentator on golf, period, men's golf, women's golf, period. Whenever we would get together with Fox, and we were not very good, they would say, try to be like Judy Rankin. Try to say more with less words. And listen to me. I can't. It's just not. It's not in my DNA. I'm a gabber. I can't do it.
Hey, Jay, it was really cool to see Scotty Scheffler win the gold. So he's won the Arnold Palmer Invitational this year, Players Championship, Masters, RBC Heritage, the Memorial, the Travelers, and now a gold medal. Do you think as the event went on that these players saw the significance of it more in their eyes than maybe some of the tournaments on the PGA Tour?
Oh, Danny, 100%. I mean, we could maybe talk about Rahm's collapse later, but every player to the player said they were blown away at the responses, the applause, the attention they got on the first tee. They were Shane Lowry, who has seen quite a bit of applause and attention in his career. He won the Open Championship in 2019. He said he was taken back. He said he had tears in his eyes, and Rahm said the same thing. All of the players did. And I think the issue is, guys, the Olympics have been gone. Golf and the Olympics have not been together for very long. We just started them back in 2016. And, Tiger was very lukewarm on it. The best players in the world initially were kind of lukewarm on it, so not very many people went down to Rio to participate. But that has completely changed. And, Danny, this was what the crowd did for Victor Scott, and I know it's a home, he's a French kid and deserved, a lot of those applause. But what they did for him on the 18th and the way that the other players were treated, even from different countries, I mean, I think it rivals some of the feelings that the guys had in the Ryder Cup. I'd say the Ryder Cup is still bigger and more important, but this was really, really kind of set the stage going forward for the Olympics.
Jay, clearly you have something to say about John Rahm's collapse down the back nine.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you play when you play exhibition golf your whole career. I mean, you play 54 holes. You're wearing shorts. You're listening to music, and I mean, for John Rahm to have a 4-stroke lead with 8 holes to go and not finish in the medal, I mean, that just wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen if he's playing on the PGA Tour, in my opinion. You just don't see that, especially with someone like him. He is so streaky and so aggressive, and with four. I'd say it's going to go down as one of the most, and it's not like Van de Velde and what he did at the Open Championship, but it's close. It's a massive collapse. I mean, that just doesn't happen for a player of his ilk.
Golf with Jay Delsing and Danny Mac Sunday morning, 8 to 10 here on 101 ESPN. Who do you guys have on the show?
We've got Matt Minder, who runs the Amateur Players Tour. He runs over 800 amateur tournaments for amateur golfers around the country. And we also have Brad Faxon. Randy, you got to listen to this interview we did with Brad Faxon on your putting. And folks, if you like golf or if you hate golf, but if you're trying to figure out how to putt, this guy's one of the best putters of all time, and he gives some insight into how to do it.
You mean I could be like not a 3-putt guy, but a 2-putt guy and save myself 6, 7, 8 strokes around? I could do that?
You could do that, Randy. You could do that.
Okay, I'm going to work on it. I'll be tuned in Sunday morning. Jay, have a great weekend. It's always great to hear your voice. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you guys.
See you, brother. That's Jay Delsing with us on 101 ESPN. Looking forward to the Ascension, by the way. And you can get tickets. Tickets available at AscensionCharityClassic.com.
Yeah, and we should mention that Jay has done an unbelievable amount of work for the Ascension. I mean, this is his course that he grew up in, started in the early 1970s as a caddy. He's done a lot in trying to get sponsors as a part of this. And Jay also at the event that you were at, Brooke, got a exemption. So he will definitely be playing. And it was a reward for the amount of work that he's done, which has been just outstanding for the Ascension Charity Classic.
I'm so excited for the event. It's fun every single year just to walk around, and the access that you have to the players. It's so much fun. I enjoy it.
That's Brooke. That's Dan. I'm Randy. And Bradford is in for Matthew. We've got Take It or Leave It coming up. Get your text into the Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646. 314-399. Yo-ho! Tioli next on 101 ESPN.
Someone's got to say it. Let it be you. Use the mic drop feature in the 101 ESPN app. Search the 101 ESPN app now in the App Store or Google Play.
Jamie, did you know that my family's been in the car business for over 80 years?
That's a heck of a run, Johnny. I know one thing. I have been very satisfied as a customer of yours for over 25 years. I can't imagine buying a vehicle anywhere else.
Are you kidding me? When you buy a vehicle from our family, you can be sure you'll get the best price and the best service.
Price brings people in, Johnny, but it's your team's commitment to great service that keeps them coming back.
Stop in today or shop 24/7 at Londoff.com. Everyone's a winner at Johnny Londoff Chevrolet.
Johnny Londoff Chevrolet.
Drive on 101 ESPN. Brought to you by Sumner One. It's time for Take It or Leave It.
Want to say something? Want to put it out there. If you like it, you can take it. If you don't, send it right back.
Get your text into 314-399-9646 and give us your Take It or Leave It.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
You guys ever play that paper football where you fold the football up into a triangle and then you just push it across the table, and if a part of the football is across the edge but the rest of the football is on the table, you score?
I do field goals.
It's been a long time since I've done that.
Oh, field goals are awesome.
Yeah, field goals.
So I was just telling you guys about how I took Russian in junior high and high school, and my buddy Larry Baden, now a professor over at Webster, he and I would play the paper football all day long. Our teachers, we had Miss Homolka and then Mr. Danishevsky, who did not like us because without fail, I mean, we kept standings, we kept stats for our paper football games during Russian rather than actually applying ourselves during the Russian course. And I was telling you guys, we took it for 4 years. I got to page 52 in the Russian book in 4 years. I did not apply myself very much, but I could have applied myself 110%. Guys, I would have never been able to make it in Russian.
That is such a hard language to
completely
learn.
Different alphabet, and I was a bad student anyway, and then I've got a friend that's willing to do sports stuff with me, so I was terrible.
Willing to do sports stuff with me.
Okay, so...
you sound like a 2-year-old. I got a guy that can do sports stuff with me.
So last night I'm watching the game, and the Rays have this shortstop named Taylor Walls. Pretty good player. He's got 6 stolen bases. So I texted BT during the game, and I asked him, because I didn't know. I don't know Taylor Walls that well. Brooke is already shaking her head.
I'm already going to say leave it, and it's awful.
I asked, is Walls a fast runner? No response. I said to BT...
He's working, Randy. First off.
If so, that would make Taylor Swift. Take it or leave it. That's like one of the best jokes ever.
I'm gonna leave it. You are.
And then I got back from BT. Damn it, Randy.
You are like a tomato right now. You're so tickled with yourself.
Well, Dan got many of those jokes over the years.
I did. I left him. I was leaving it.
Okay. Take it or leave it, though. Taylor is Swift.
I'm gonna leave that, Randy.
Did you see they had to shut down her concerts?
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah,
that was scary.
19-year-old took down a Taylor Swift concert.
Was it a 19-year-old?
With 2 15-year-olds. Yeah, 19-year-old terrorists who had access to bombs and stuff, working with 2 15-year-olds that were apparently involved. This is in Austria, maybe? Where 2 15-year-olds that were working actually in the venue. So they had to cancel that thing.
That is scary. All right, so I'm going to switch gears a little bit here.
And Taylor Walls, by the way, can run. So Taylor Swift.
He is pretty swift.
Yeah, we put 2 and 2 together.
Appreciate it.
We'll give you creativity points on that one.
For sure.
So take it or leave it. We know that the Marlins are probably going to part with Skip Schumacher. He's not going to stay there, of course. And the White Sox are looking for a new manager. Take it or leave it. Skip is going to be the White Sox new manager.
I'm going to leave it. Skip has to say, been there, done that already.
I'm going to take it.
Really?
I think he gets a long-term deal, and in that long-term deal, he would have plenty of runway to turn this thing around. I think the only way, though, that you go there is that if there's a commitment from ownership to spend a certain amount of money on players. And if I got that, I'd say, you know what? I've been to Miami, been in a tough spot, but there's only a handful of these jobs that open up every season, and I don't want to be in the outside looking in. Now, he would have a job as a bench coach or do something else in baseball, but I think that because there's so few of these jobs that open up, I think he would take it.
Now, one thing that we should keep in mind here that just popped into my head, and I think I even brought this up, is that Tony La Russa is still a trusted lieutenant of Jerry Reinsdorf.
That's a great point.
That is a good point.
Tony La Russa probably would put his stamp of approval on Skip Schumacher.
I would agree with that. All right, Diana Taurasi is a 6-time Olympian, and the women play today. They're 2 wins from gold, and they'll take on Australia. As much as we give respect and attention to LeBron James, take it or leave it, we need to be doing the same with Diana Taurasi.
Totally take it. Yeah, no doubt about
100%.
it.
No one's really talking about that. I mean, 6-time Olympian, and for me, being the the father of two girls that I love to see in sports, I think it's important to pay attention to the other side, too.
There's not a lot of people talking about the U.S. women's team. And I don't want to bring it. I hate bringing this up because it's a little bit more negative, but is that because of everything that happened with Caitlin Clark not making this team?
I think there would be more attention paid if she were there. But they're actually probably more dominant than the men. This is the best collection of basketball players probably relative to their competition in these Olympics.
I was watching the other day and I was saying, man, I wish Caitlin Clark was playing right now. I'd love to watch her play with this collection of talent. But you know what? I still watch it because I love basketball, so it's been fun.
And also due to the fact that, guys, think about it, how many of the casual basketball observers during the Olympics really know at this point in time Breanna Stewart, Asia Wilson leading this year's class. Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, unbelievable, transformative personalities in this game. They're on the way out.
Yeah,
exactly.
Changing in the guard.
So that's where I'm at. I think the women play at 8:30 this morning. I could be wrong about that, but I think they play this morning.
We will watch that. Is that for the gold?
They're 2 wins away.
Okay.
So they play Australia today, and then
Sunday
they'll be in the championship.
Okay, good. Bradford, what do you have on the text line?
Take it or leave it from the 314 gang. The Cardinals will have a sub-500 record on their upcoming road trip.
Well, they only played 2, right? Is that correct? Or
Kansas City,
short
and then an
road
off
trip.
day on Sunday.
Yeah,
and then they go to Cincinnati, I believe.
Okay, I'm going to say they split and take 2 of 3. I'm going to go with 3 and 2 on this trip.
Sunshine and lollipops, Randall. I'm with you. I think they do too. Even though the matchup can be tough against Michael Lorenzen, he's got a 3.69 ERA, and I look at any pitcher that's below 4. In this day and age, you're pitching pretty well.
And then after that, you have the Dodgers coming to town, and you have the Brewers.
So that might not go as well.
No.
It's going to be tough.
Although the Dodgers have been kind of scuffling.
They have been. And you also have a 4-game homestand or 4-game series against the Padres coming up.
That'll be interesting.
I said it yesterday. They've got 13 of 16 in September at home. And I think that's maybe where their playoff hopes lie. You just hang around right now. Win a couple here, lose one, win a couple, lose one, and all of a sudden you're a little bit above 500, and then you got to take care of business head-to-head with Milwaukee, and that's where I think it goes.
So in this 24-game stretch now that the Cardinals play, in which 21 of the teams are either right on the edge of or in playoff contention, I was thinking you go 13 and 11 in those games. Then you'd probably have to go 20 and 4 down the stretch.
Yeah.
You'd have to win 20 out of 24 to get to 92 wins.
You start doing the numbers, they got to be playing better than they are.
Yeah, they are.
Yesterday, we were a bit short on time, but I wanted to get to this one from the YouTube chat. John F. If Ron Santo is a Hall of Famer, take it or leave it, then Jimmy Ballgame, Kurt Flood, and Ken Boyer all belong in Cooperstown, too.
I will go apples to apples with Boyer and Santo. If Santo is in, Boyer should be in.
Yeah, I agree.
100%. Jimmy should be in. Kurt Flood, he really needs to be in.
Kurt Flood needs to be in on a couple reasons.
Well, if Marvin Miller's in,
he's changed the game. Yeah.
I also think Tommy John should be in.
I agree.
Oh,
I mean, changed and all the wins after he had the surgery. He's close to a 300-game winner. I think he's 278, something like that, but he's in the 270s. These are innovative people in the game of baseball that should be in.
Tommy John is always a good immaculate grid guy too.
He's on there a lot.
I use him as a Dodger, Yankee, White Sox. He's around the block. You know who else is a great one that we don't use enough? There's somebody I used this morning that's who's my go-to. I'll give you my
Kerry Davis.
No, this is for football. Yeah, there's only a couple of teams for CD. I don't know why he always pops up. Because I always do it where I want the player to have played for the Cardinals, too, in addition to the 2 teams that you give. Reggie Smith, always with Boston, the Cardinals, and L.A., I always wind up using Reggie Smith. He's kind of like a go-to. My kid gets tired of it because we compare notes, and I've got Reggie Smith all the time.
Now, is Patrick Megamind, too, with you? I mean, he retains...
Patrick is smarter than I am.
Okay.
Wow.
He is a smart kid, man.
Yeah.
Smart dude.
He's like Greg in that he knows every single player. He's unbelievable.
I love that.
Yeah.
Watching all the games, taking it all in.
He can watch 5 screens at a time and consume it and retain it all.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's a skill. Time for one more. Take it or leave it. Tommy Pham re-signs and finishes his major league career as a Cardinal.
Take it.
Whoa.
I'm going to take it. I'm going to say he signs for next year.
You think that he signs for next year? I'm
Yep.
going to leave it. I don't think that it happens. You have too much other talent with this outfield that is on the way.
I'm going to leave it too. 36.
Yeah.
Although if
Mark will be gone, Crawford will be gone.
That's a good point. And the other point is what you do in the clubhouse when you lose those two guys.
I'm paying for that.
Yeah, paying for that rusty nail.
And you know what? He can still play.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously.
So, I mean, of the three, aren't all three of those 36, Carpenter, Crawford, and Pham, who you taking?
And as much as they talked about controlling the clubhouse with bringing some guys in that have a lot of experience, if you lose two of them, would make some sense to bring them back.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I like it.
I do too. Thank you, Bradford.
You're welcome.
Coming up next year on 101 ESPN, Katie Wu made an interesting point about Cardinal attendance yesterday here on BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN. We'll talk a little bit about where the Cardinals are from a ticket sales standpoint on 101 ESPN.
We want in your head 24 hours a day. The 101 ESPN app in your App Store or Google Play.
Hey, Jamie Rivers here for Window World, the preferred window of the St. Louis Blues. With Window World, it's all about customer happiness and beautiful, durable windows. Add value to your home, and with Window World, you can make the improvement because they are now offering financing plans up to 36 months. Plus, there is a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor. See why they are simply the best for less. Call for a free in-home estimate at 314-993-1800 or look them up at windowworld.com.
Open up your 101 mobile app for your chance to win free tickets to see the Doobie Brothers. With special guest Steve Winwood on Saturday night, August 24th at Hollywood Casino Amphitheater. Get all the ticket details and get entered to win those free tickets for the Doobie Brothers.
Hear every St. Louis Blues game right here. WXOS, WXOS HD1 East St. Louis, 101 ESPN. Be a part of the show. Text the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation text line at 314-399-9646 on 101 ESPN. Live from the Car Shield studio, this is the opening drive on 101 ESPN. A fresh perspective on the day's top stories. It's the opening drive's fresh take.
it's been baffling to me to see these crowds at Busch Stadium, especially during the week, where it's half empty, and it just doesn't feel like I'm at a Cardinals game. I mean, just 2 years ago, I felt like we were at a sellout almost every game. To me, it feels like the games in 21 when I started on the beat, and they were like 30% capacity because of COVID restrictions. That's what these games feel like, and it's disheartening, but I understand why fans feel the way that they do. You know, maybe this team can make a run and make an exciting September, and you'll see the ballpark fill back up. But it is, especially during the week or an interleague series like this, the Rays don't help either. It's bizarre to see Busch Stadium with the attendance that it has this year.
That's our friend Katie Wu from The Athletic here on 101 ESPN with BK and Ferrario yesterday. And she pointed out that the Cardinals are trending toward having less than 3 million paid customers this year, which is disheartening, but it's also a part of what the Cardinals have wrought with the expectations that they've built over the years. I want to start with this. I think that Katie is being generous in saying that the stadium is half full.
It really doesn't look like it when you look at the games,
No.
right? It looks very sporadic, and we talked about it in the first segment. The weather has been fantastic this week. It feels like fall outside, so you have a lot of ways and reasons to want to get over to a game. I'm just curious, and I know that we're calling for text here in this segment, for people who are hesitant, who have always gone to Cardinals games but are more hesitant right now, why they do not want to go spend the money.
I want to make this quick point, too, because I don't think we say this enough. And there is a difference between the on-field baseball product and the off-field baseball product. I've been to a lot more games as a fan this year than I have as a media member. I think the Cardinal game presentation, what they do from the time you go into a parking lot through the gates,
100%.
Get to your seats, I think what they do is sensational. I think the Cardinals game day experience is fantastic. And by the way, inexpensive tickets are always available. If I had to give my opinion here, I would say that one thing is the Cardinals are victimized by what baseball is now, the on-field product that's inherent with pretty much every team. And John Mozeliak has mentioned this himself. I think the Cardinals can be a good competitive team, but I think there's people that believe that if John Mozeliak is in charge, and I don't necessarily agree with this, but he mentioned it, so I think it's out there, that there is Mo fatigue, and people just don't have confidence in the Cardinals' desire and ability to build a championship team.
There's a difference, too, between tickets sold, you know, and those, the fannies in the seats. And what I'd be concerned about with the Cardinals is that if I've sold tickets and people aren't showing up, that's a problem. You know, the retention that you're having of fans coming back to the ballpark. Now, she mentioned 2 years ago that the place was packed. It was packed because Albert Pujols was going off and making history. So what's that tell you? You need in my mind, I go to the ballpark that I want to see a superstar play. And the superstars have not been superstars. That's Arenado.
Great point.
That's Goldie. So I'd go to the ballpark to watch them. I've said this a bunch. I used to go to the ballpark when the team was terrible just so I could go watch Ozzie play. I just thought he was my guy. He still is my guy. He's my favorite player ever that I've seen defensively, so I would go to watch Ozzie. The other thing that I think that makes this a really easy summation of where I'm going, just win. If you win, people show up to the ballpark.
Now, this isn't going to happen every night, and it didn't happen every night when we were kids or we were young adults, Dan. And, Brooke, I don't even know if you've had the good fortune, but Bob Costas mentioned this to us a couple of years ago. It used to be that you'd buy tickets to watch a pitching pairing.
100%.
And there's no such thing as a good starting pitching pairing anymore.
No.
Would you go buy tickets? We were talking a little bit about this off the air before the show, and Brooke, you weren't here yet. You were doing your preparation 5 hours ago, so you didn't need to show up as early as we did. But Ohtani's coming to town. I would want to watch him play. I'd buy a ticket to go watch him. I always go back to the Carpenter Clemens matchups. Those were great. Or Roy Oswald. And two good teams, Houston and St. Louis, always going back and forth, but Roy Oswald against Chris Carpenter. And when I would promote the games, I'd always promote the great pitching matchups. Like you're going to have a chance to see these guys go head to head. And I think there's a lot to be said about that. A lot.
And we do, as Brooke mentioned, we want to hear from you, too, about what's going on. And we've talked about this before, but it's exacerbated now by that number, that the Cardinals, and there's a subsection of fans that believe that people are going to go through the gates regardless of what the team performance is. That's not the case. St. Louis is a really good baseball town. We're the best baseball town in America. But what makes us great is we're a great winning baseball town. And
winning.
Yeah, with 2.8 million people and you're drawing 3.4 million fans. 2.8 million is your population and you draw 3.4 million fans. It's pretty incredible.
It really is. And I agree with you guys. I think, one, the superstar point is really important here because you're right. You wanted to go see Yachty also during that time, and you wanted to see Albert Pujols and everything that he was doing, especially in that second half of the season. The attendance during that time was absolutely electric inside Busch Stadium. So people want to go see that. They want to see a good product on the field. And that's what I'm seeing over and over again on the text line from the 505. When I go to the ballpark, I want to see good baseball. I don't care much for the ballpark experience. Give me a good product on the field. Whatever happens off field, I could not care less. And I will say the Cardinals do a fantastic job. When you go in there, there's a lot of different options, a lot of different experiences. But I think a lot of people just kind of gauging on the text line are still burned from last season. You missed the playoffs in that manner. You have 91 losses, and then you kind of followed it up with a slow start to this season. So a lot of people might be hesitant and saying, well, am I just seeing the same thing over and again? And this is why we said all week, you can't miss the playoffs back-to-back years with this fan base, the expectations, and what this organization has history-wise. You can't miss it back-to-back years.
And while the Cardinals did some good things in signing the 3 starting pitchers, they didn't electrify the fan base. Guys, I talked about this all off season, but I wonder how different it would have been if it would have been the Cardinals that made the trade for Dylan Cease in spring training rather than the Padres.
Yeah. I think that's part of it because then you'd start winning. Maybe a little bit more, and I would add Sonny Gray in there. So then you'd have 1-2, and you'd feel really good in a series. I also think the TV situation is prominent in this discussion because literally out of sight, out of mind. And if you're not watching the games, you look at other ways to spend discretionary income. And I thought that might be the case after the COVID years, but it wasn't. Albert brought a lot of people to the ballpark, especially in that second half, and to your point, Brooke, Yachty as well. But if you're not watching the games on a nightly basis, I think that's a problem too. And the games when you're watching on TV will tell you about the things, Randy, that you were mentioning. Come to the ballpark, little Susie, little Johnny's going to get a jersey, or they're going to get a hat, or they're going to get a glove, or they're going to get a bat, all those kind of things. And if you don't know that that's going on, you're not going to go to the ballpark.
That's a great point. You mentioned the term discretionary income, and I'd like people to text in with this too. During the offseason, after the Cardinals lost 91 games, did anybody out there decide, okay, my discretionary income, I'm going to make a choice here. I'm going to go to City SC games rather than Cardinal games?
I think there's the diehard soccer fan was there, but I think the newness of watching soccer was part of it, and I think a lot of people enjoyed going to a soccer game.
I think there's a lot of people talking about it being a mix of things. They brought up the TV issues that you talked about, Dan, and just accessibility being one of those things. And also, look, we all know it right now. We've talked about it. You go to the grocery store, groceries are a lot more expensive. Everything is more expensive. Inflation is really high right now, and this is what the 618 says. It's shocking how much more expensive groceries and electric are. It's easy to put a lackluster team on the chopping block. And that's the thing is a lot of people right now under financial constraints don't have a lot of expendable income. And so what's the first thing you cut? The entertainment portion.
Yeah.
You're not able to spend as much money on that. I do understand the Cardinals have cheap tickets. I've seen the advertisement for $4, $5 tickets. You can go to the ballpark, bring in your own food, but still either way, you're paying money to go to the game. And if you don't have that much money to spend on entertainment, you want to make sure you're entertained.
One of the days that I was at school, we had the discussion about wants and needs, right? And the first thing you're going to cut is your wants because you have to have food, shelter, clothing. And so I get that. If you don't want to have to make the choice between food and baseball, but people do.
Yeah.
And so 100% of the time, you're going to choose food.
And I think one of the things that you have to keep in mind, I hate saying this, but crime.
Yes.
And some of the things that you deal with in downtown St. Louis, I think that keeps some people away. What's interesting about the Cardinals is that if you do a 100-mile circle around the city of St. Louis and you have so many fans, because really it's a regional team. It's not just St. Louis. It's a regional team. You'll see about 60% of those tickets sold, or those 60% that are coming in, are from outside the 100-mile radius. And that's why you see on the weekends, now there's a couple things. Kids are out of school and people are off of work primarily. And you have these people that come in from outside that radius that are very, very rabid Cardinal fans. And they come in. And that's why I think you see a lot of the bigger crowds on the weekend. That's self-explanatory. But it'll be really interesting to me is that if they are hovering around 500 and school is back in session, what are some of these crowds going to look like weekday games?
That's why you have to make the playoffs, because then people will be more inclined to maybe miss school, skip school to go and see the games. But if they're not going to make the playoffs, then I can understand why people wouldn't prioritize that.
Dan, having worked in TV, why do you think it is that Rob Manfred just doesn't say, okay, we're going to take all limitations off of MLB.TV. We're going to take all limitations, and anybody can watch any game they want.
First of all, it's insanity that that's not happening.
Yeah.
But I think because the entities are paying so much money that they want the exclusivity of being in those towns to say, you know what, this is the place to go. And to me, and I've said this a bunch, it's the number one problem in baseball. It's a regional sport, and you have to excite fan bases and remind them to come down to the ballpark. It's always a reminder when it's on television, oh, I can go down to the ballpark. I enjoy watching Mason win. I'm going to take my daughter, my son to the ball game because Mason Wynn is a marketable kid. He's fun to watch. He's exciting to watch. But if you don't see it, I'll go back to it. It's out of sight, out of mind. And it's the number one thing that baseball has to fix is being able to access this on my iPad or my phone or on my television. If I can't get it, then it's out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, shouldn't be any blackouts.
I don't know how they don't fix this sooner. I understand that there is a lot of hesitation because of the age range typically for baseball fans, but we've seen with all these rule changes that actually the fan base is getting younger and younger. It's actually drawing in younger fans, and streaming is the way that things are going, and just make it more accessible for everyone.
Bottom line.
That's the biggest thing. Now,
Got to see the games. Got to see them.
Can we get in one more?
Yes.
Because we're getting a lot of great texts coming in here. From the 573, I think we're seeing the result of no recent deep playoff runs and no light at the end of the tunnel with this organization. They haven't won a playoff series since 2019. So I do understand that aspect, too, of I think it's not enough for this fan base because of the history of success, because of all the great Hall of Famers you've had come through. You don't want to just see this team get to the playoffs. You want to see them make a deep run in the playoffs.
Right. And that's why I say we're a great winning baseball town. There's probably two franchises. The Cubs do okay. The Cubs, because their star has always been Wrigley Field. But the Yankees and Red Sox, are because of their market sizes, and the Red Sox in large part because of supply and demand, because Fenway Park is so small, those are the two that I think can go through a summer. And when's the last time the Yankees weren't good? So maybe the Red Sox are the one that we know is going to draw, even if they finish in last place.
And so what you're talking about is where you're at in the standings, right? So if you have winning baseball, that's going to bring people to the ballpark. I just think that it comes down to a pretty simple solution with some things mixed in as we're talking about. But if you win, and win with a fun style of baseball too, it's got to be entertaining. You know, and when your big stars aren't really acting like big stars right now, and we're talking about Arenado, Goldie, it's kind of tough to put your claws into a team that's hovering around 500. What's going to make you go to the ballpark? Is there a star right now that would make you go and spend your hard-earned money to go watch this particular play? For me, it's Mason Wynn. I would do that, but I don't think a lot of people are on board with that just yet.
We'll come back to this at 9 and 9:15. But coming up next, speaking of fun, if you were going to pick an under 25 shortstop in baseball, who would you take? That's next on 101 ESPN.
The summer heat wave sale is on at Auto Centers Nissan. You can select new Nissans and have rates as low as 0% APR and for terms as long as 84 months, and that's all throughout the month of August. You can save big on select new Nissans with thousands in Nissan bonus cash and
Want to say something? Then say it. Use the mic drop feature in the 101 ESPN app. Search the 101 ESPN app now in the App Store or Google Play. This is the opening drive on 101 ESPN. Brought to you by Sumner One.
Ellie De La Cruz. And it's not even close. I mean, the guy's on pace to have 30 homers and over 80 stolen bases. We've never seen that before. He's everything you want to build a team around. Matter of fact, shame on the Cincinnati Reds for not giving him his $200 million contract extension. Where's his Ronald Acuna contract extension? Get this kid paid. He's got the best arm in the game. He hits power from both sides. I don't know what more you want. This is the future face of baseball. Ellie De La Cruz is going to be a perennial 40-40 shortstop. Think about that.
Greg Amsinger yesterday here on 101 ESPN when I asked him if he was given a young shortstop, 25 or under, who would he take? And Greg took Ellie De La Cruz. This is, kids, a golden age for the position in Major League Baseball. You've got all these guys under 25. Mason Wynn, Ellie De La Cruz, O'Neal Cruz, Bobby Witt Jr., Gunnar Henderson, Jackson Holliday, who's playing second right now but is a shortstop, C.J. Abrams, the all-star for the Washington Nationals, Anthony Volpe of the Yankees. You are loaded at the position. So we can all take a shortstop. It doesn't even have to be a draft. We're going to take a shortstop under the age of 25. Who are we going with?
Oh, it's easy. Bobby Witt Jr.
Me too.
100% over and over and over again. I'm taking Bobby Witt Jr. He's electrifying the things that he's doing for the Royals right now. Also, I want to discuss this too at some point. It was a great job by the Royals of locking him up early. I think that's something that the Cardinals need to do with some of their young stars. It's paid off for him. 11 years, $288 million plus contract. He is the guy I'm taking every single day.
Yeah, I didn't agree with Greg's assessment. To me, if I'm building a team around a guy, it's Bobby Witt Jr. Now, if I'm looking for the flash and the excitement, I'm going De La Cruz, and he's a guy that I would stop and watch. I'm not sure I would do that all the time with Bobby Witt Jr., but the other kid, I'm watching to stop and see him play. Now, let me give you some numbers here as to why I go with Bobby Witt Jr. His current pace and where it would rank among every single shortstop season since 1947. Okay, this is every shortstop and what he's doing right now. 6th in average, 3rd in runs, 1st in WAR. 11.2 is his WAR. He's literally become like the version of Mike Trout at short. He's hitting .349 with 22 home runs, 84 runs batted in, and he's outstanding defensively too. He does a little bit of everything for me.
Bobby Witt Jr. also is currently in the 99th percentile in batting, base running, and fielding run value. He is just absolutely electric to watch, and I don't know. That's why I also said earlier, remember, not too long ago, that was my take it or leave it of if he's going to be the MVP. I know there's another guy that's obviously the front runner there, but
Judge,
yeah, a big guy.
And Greg brought up the ability of De La Cruz to run. Well, Witt also has 25 stolen bases. But, guys, I said this. There's a couple of guys. Number one, Gunnar Henderson was an all-star, the Orioles shortstop. He's got 29 home runs to Bobby Witt Jr.'s 22. He still has 14 stolen bases to Witt's 25. Witt with a 1,000 OPS as we speak. Gunnar Henderson at 926. You can't go wrong with either of those guys. You know what might differentiate those two for me is... granted, Witt leads in batting average by a wide margin, but he's only struck out 78 times this year. Gunnar Henderson struck out 117. Ellie De La Cruz has struck out 149.
That was the difference I was going with.
Yeah.
Is that the ability to put the ball in play. Mm-hmm. By the way, I always look at OPS. I mean, that's what everybody goes to look at, OPS, and look at what you're doing in that regard. His OPS is 1,000. Yeah, it's 1,000.
Incredible.
It is. So my guy to go around, and we were talking about this earlier, is there a player that you pay a ticket to go watch play?
It's him.
Bobby Witt Jr. would be my guy. Now, I'm going to do the same thing with De La Cruz because he's so flashy and he might hit a ball 500 yards and just hit it like over 5 football stadiums and do something that's electrifying. So I'd stop and watch him, but the guy I'm building around is Bobby Witt Jr.
Yeah, the magnetic factor, there's no question about it, goes to Ellie De La Cruz. Which of these names, though, guys, I'm curious for your thoughts on this, does not truly maybe belong in the upper echelon portion of the list? For me, far and away. And we haven't talked a lot about C.J. Abrams, who has struggled somewhat in the second half, but we know what he can do defensively as well with that pop two atop the Nationals order. For me, I need to see more out of O'Neal Cruz.
I agree.
And when you look into the metrics and the analytics, I know that everyone is enamored with the exit velocity. Well, whenever I truly dig into Pittsburgh Pirates box scores, which I do an unhealthy amount of the time, actually, I don't see him out there on a daily basis. And when he does, he goes through so many fits and spurts, stretches. The consistency isn't there. And for somebody who hasn't topped 55 or so RBIs in a single season and certainly isn't going to give you that bona fide batting average, I don't know if he's in that top tier. For me, I have to drop him down.
It'd be like taking Jordan Walker. He's got all the ability in the world. He just hasn't done it yet.
You were talking off the air, and let's give him a full season. He's got a little taste of Major League Baseball, but Jackson Holiday.
Yeah, I was saying,
exciting.
If Greg gets Ellie De La Cruz and we do a draft and I've got the 5th pick and Bobby Witt Jr. and Gunnar Henderson and C.J. Abrams go off the board, I'll take Jackson Holiday and take my chances. Now, he's not a shortstop yet.
Not yet.
No, and he hasn't done much yet. I mean, he's only hitting 177. But I will take my chances on Jackson Holiday becoming a superstar. And by the way, none of us have taken Mason Wynn.
Yeah, good point.
And he's awesome.
He is.
He might be the second, I would think, in Rookie of the Year in the National League. He's second behind Paul Skeens.
Yeah.
And no one's really talking about him.
Right.
I think the word, though, is getting out a little bit more when you hear some of the opposing players talk about him and you hear post-game comments and things of that nature, but he's not quite there yet.
He's the best defensive guy already in terms of defensive runs saved, and he's starting to hit for a little bit of pop. And I think if the Cardinals were winning more, if the Cardinals were in more of a playoff hunt, I think that he would be getting a lot more run.
He would. And he has a great personality, too. I think another thing with Ellie De La Cruz, I love how Major League Baseball is really embracing him and they're promoting him a lot. He has a fantastic personality. I think he's emerging as
3 languages or something like that.
He said that he's going to even learn Japanese, too, that he's working on that.
So that he could talk to Ohtani at the All-Star game.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He has an infectious personality, so it's great. He's one of the emerging young faces.
Coming up, we've got a guy coming back who beat me in the fight yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Armin Katayan.
Yes, Armin Hammer.
Oh.
Don't go baking soda.
Isn't there an actor named Armie Hammer?
Yeah, but things have been bad for him.
He's been canceled, Randy.
Okay.
He's
has he? Okay.
been successfully
well,
canceled.
Armin is a great guy, and he's coming back to fight me next on 101 ESPN.
Coverage of 101 ESPN is presented by Onder Law Injury Lawyers. GetJim.com.
If you're thinking of selling your home, I am sure there are 2 things you want: certainty
Catch the Balloon Party with Tim McKernan and Action Jackson. Weekdays from 10 to 11 a.m. on 101 ESPN. The fastest hour of sports radio is driven by Munganast and Burkhardt Alton Toyota.
Welcome to the fight. In the red corner, Average Joe Listener. And in the blue corner, the undisputed king of morning drive. Please welcome Randy Carricker.
Welcome back to the opening drive. Brooke, Dan, Randy, and Bruns here, and it is time for the fight. And we have a returning fighter today, Armin. Armin, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good, Brooke. How are you this morning?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. It's great to hear your voice again. How excited were you after yesterday's huge victory?
You know, quite honestly, I was shocked. But I'm excited that I'm back for round 2, and let's see what happens.
Now, do you got a lot of family and friends listening in? This spread like wildfire throughout your family, the big victory that you had over Randy?
Let's just say that I went home and I rubbed it in last night a little bit, and everybody that I know, friends and family, everybody's tuning in this morning and listening in. So wish me luck.
My goodness. Okay, away we go. And Brooke, fire away with question 1.
Yes. All right. Here we go. Question number 1. By rallying past... What'd you say, Brent?
What show is this?
Okay, anyways. I'm sorry, Armin. We're not professionals sometimes. By rallying past Serbia yesterday, 95-91, the United States men's hoops team set up a gold medal rematch versus France tomorrow. When these nations met in the Tokyo final, only 2 Americans managed to score more than 11 points. Kevin Durant and who else? Was it Jason Tatum, Damian Lillard, or Karl Anthony Towns?
I'm going to take Damian Lillard. Final answer.
Okay, on to question 2. Tonight at 7:10, the Cardinals kick off a 2-game set with Kansas City. George Brett is the franchise all-time leader with 3,154 hits. But can you tell us the only other Royal to have recorded 2,000-plus career hits? Was it Mike Sweeney, Hal McRae, or Frank White?
I'm going to go B, final answer. Cal McRae.
All right. Question 3, here we go.
Jordan Spieth has won 3 of golf's 4 major tournaments. Which of the Big 4 championships is Spieth missing? Is it the U.S. Open, PGA Championship, or British Open?
I'm going to go British Open, final answer.
And question 4, it's a quick one. Last season, who led the NFL in passing yards? Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, Tua Tagovailoa.
Not big on football. Not a Cowboys fan. Jared Goff left St. Louis. Give me Tua Tagovailoa, final answer.
All right. Let me go grab Randall.
How are you feeling, Armin?
50-50. That last question really got to me, but overall I feel okay.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. What did you say? Dan, what did you say to Randy?
Quit Googling the answers.
Quit Googling the answers.
I'm kidding.
Oh, you're going to feed into the conspiracy theorists of people who think that somehow
Relax.
Randy cheats. He doesn't.
No, he
We're
doesn't
in the
cheat.
studio with him. There's nothing happening.
I had to
behind
give you
the scenes.
trouble, Randall.
That's fine. I like trouble.
Okay.
And he has the grapes today. No banana.
No banana. I went with grapes. Haven't finished them yet, though.
Oh, okay. Say hi to Armin again.
Armin, good morning. Good to have you with us.
Thank you, Uncle Randy. On the grapes, are you eating white grapes or red grapes?
I'm going with white grapes today.
Good choice.
And they were delicious. I haven't finished them yet, but thank you very much for asking.
You're very welcome.
You're welcome. Simply put, you're welcome.
All right.
Ready for question number 1?
Ready.
By rallying past Serbia last night, or Serbia, as you like to say, Randy, I know that works for you better, 95-91, the United States men's hoops team set up a gold medal rematch versus France tomorrow. When these nations met in the Tokyo final, only 2 Americans managed to score more than 11 points. Kevin Durant and who else?
Tokyo final. I have no idea, so I'll do the lifeline.
All right. It is between Jason Tatum, Damian Lillard, or Karl Anthony Towns.
Still don't have any idea. But I will go with Dame Lillard.
Final answer?
Yes, sir.
Okay, on to question 2 we go. You know, at 7:10, the Cardinals square off with the Royals.
The Royals with cheese.
George Brett is the franchise's all-time leader in hits with over 3,100.
Mm-hmm.
But can you tell us the only other Royal to have recorded 2,000-plus career hits? Good question.
That is a good question. First, so he played for the Royals and recorded more than 2,000 hits.
Correct.
Okay. I would have to think that it's between Frank White and Hal McRae. Just trying to go back. I don't think there was anybody like Freddie Patek and Amos Otis and those guys. I don't think ever were in that realm. John Mayberry, probably not. Darryl Porter, no. Jim Sundberg. You think about that team that beat the Cardinals in the World Series. Brett Balboni.
Dane Orge. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
I don't either. And then since then, they have been relatively bad. Now, I know, like, he had to have 2,000 hits with the franchise, right? Because Carlos Beltran had more than 2,000 hits.
That's correct, with the Kansas City Royals.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Frank White.
Final answer?
Yes, sir.
On to question 3.
Jordan Spieth has won 3 of golf's 4 major tournaments. Which of the big 4 championships is Spieth missing?
Spiether.
He's got a bad wrist right now. He said he's going to have something done to his wrist in the offseason.
Oh, really?
May not make the FedEx playoffs here. So, yeah, anyway.
Great. Well, I got a 1 in 4 chance here, right?
That's right. You want the lifeline?
I already used my lifeline, Dan.
That's done.
But 1 in 4 chance, I figured to be able to do it without the lifeline.
Yeah. I think he's won both the PGA and the U.S., so it comes down to Masters and the Open. I'm going to go with him not winning the Open.
That would be the U.S. Open?
Yes, in UK, yeah.
Okay.
That's
Or
the
the
only
British
Open.
Open.
Yeah, British Open.
Okay. All right, on to question 4. Oh, that's me. Last season, who led the... it's a Friday. I'm just... my mind's wandering a little.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay, last season, Randy, who led the NFL in passing yards?
This is a recency story. Well, let's... it wasn't Justin Herbert, who... and by Mahomes did not have a great year. It could have been Jared Goff. He was one of the guys. It wasn't in the AFC North. I don't think it was in the AFC. Well, C.J. Stroud had like 5,200. Could have been him. So North, South, East didn't have anybody. I don't think Allen wasn't that much. And then West, Mahomes didn't have the year Herbert got hurt. Nobody on the Raiders. NFC, don't think Dak did, although CeeDee Lamb had an incredible year. Let's keep Dak there in the holster. And then NFC West, Stafford didn't have that kind of a year. NFC North, no. And then NFC South, no, they were bad. So we're talking Jared Goff or C.J. Stroud. I am going to go with, who was Dak was the other one. You know what? I think I'll go with Dak Prescott because CeeDee Lamb had an outrageously good year. I'll go with Dak Prescott or Prescott.
All right, Bradford, do your thing.
State.
Well, I can't believe what I just heard. I don't know the last time this occurred during the course of the opening drive, but for a second consecutive day, we are going to walk it off in a manner of speaking because Armin and Randy are knotted at one apiece at the moment. Another defensive struggle, as you will. Armin, here's how it's going to go down.
That should tell you about your questions.
Fair
These
enough.
are great questions.
Fair enough.
These are great questions.
Did you know them all?
Well, there's one that I will point out earlier because I actually mentioned it in the first segment of the show.
Oh, okay.
Armin, you know the rules of engagement here. We're going to give you the tiebreaker question. Randy in studio with his trusty. You've got the notepad out there today, Lindenwood style, sir. There you go.
Yes,
Show it.
with the
Show
Lindenwood
it.
shirt.
Put it up for the cameras. So Randy is going to write down his answer on this notepad. Armin, after it is displayed to the camera, you are going to respond as quickly as you can. No controversy, no confusion here, and we will have our winner today. Are you ready to go, sir?
Let's do it.
All right. Your tiebreaker question today. Here we go. Closest to the pin. We're going to swing it to the rink. Brian Sutter is the Blues' all-time leader in penalty minutes. Just how much time, how many penalty minutes did Sutter serve in the sin box as a member of the Note? How many career penalty minutes for Brian Sutter?
I really have no idea here, so I'm just I'll go with this number.
It is aloft. Okay. Armin, we need your answer.
I'm going to go with 558.
Fortunately, I don't have a lot in the way to compute for this tiebreaker today. Armin, you came in on this Friday, another strong representative performance, but going into the weekend, we can have just one victor. Who was the individual to prevail today? We ring the bell.
The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Carricker.
The fight is presented by Golf Discount of St. Louis. With the most experienced club fitters in town. Why shop anywhere else?
Armin, it was a tie in regulation, but Randy got you in the tiebreaker. Let's go through these answers. All right, starting off with question number 1. We understand that Team USA is taking on France tomorrow in the gold medal game, men's hoops championships there for the Paris Olympics. Back in the Tokyo edition of the games, it was the U.S. versus France. Kevin Durant, the leading scorer in that contest with 29 points. Who was second? Both of you guys, if I'm not mistaken, you went with Dame Time, Damian Lillard, who was the second leading scorer for that team. In that game, however, it was our town's Jason Tatum with 19 points as the second leading scorer. So
I said that in the first segment. Remember when we were talking about Jason Tatum and I said he was the second leading scorer during the 2020, it was technically 2020 Olympics, but then obviously 2021.
But this was a specific game, though. This was the gold medal game, right?
It was, yes.
Yeah.
The Tokyo final.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Fair enough. Karl Anthony Towns actually not on that team, so a bit of a swerve there
tricky.
tonight.
Taking a little Rockio action there.
Taking it to Kauffman Stadium with some added novel-length questions to boot. Yes, the Cardinals and the Royals are getting set for the 7:10 p.m. matchup. George Brett leads the Royals all-time in hits. Who's number 2 with more than 2,000 career hits? Randy, you worked through this one, and after some considerable deliberation, you went with Frank White. Frank White, I didn't know at first. He played 18 seasons for the Royals and had over 2,000 career hits.
He was also part of the Kansas City Academy. So he graduated from the academy. The Kansas City Royals started a academy for kids to play and trying to find great players, athletes, whatever, teach them baseball. And he graduated to the major leagues, which is a great story.
Good stuff. Golf, Jordan Spieth, 3 of 4 majors. Sorry, Dan, I'm trying to keep the train moving here a little bit.
I understand.
Jordan Spieth has 3 of 4 major titles. Now, which of the big 4, though, does Spieth not have under his belt at the moment? Our choices were the U.S. Open, PGA Championship, or the British Open. Spieth has the 1 Masters, could well have a few more green jackets if things had played out his way. But the PGA Championship, he has finished second. He has been a runner-up. He has not captured the PGA Championship as of yet. And finally, the last regular question for the fight today. Just last season, who led the NFL in passing yards? The choices were Dak, Jared Goff, or Tua. And thanks to the robust performance over the first month plus of the season, Tua actually led the regular season. Yes, the NFL in passing yards with 4,624.
He's forgettable, isn't he? That's a forgettable
no doubt.
League leader in yards.
Don't you remember that it all went downhill after people started comparing the Dolphins' offense to the greatest show on turf? Yeah.
Armin got that one, which took us to the tiebreaker. We went hockey. Let's do that hockey. Brian Sutter, penalty minutes, the all-time career leader for your St. Louis Blues. Just how much time did he spend in the box? Randy, you went with 1,942 penalty minutes, sir. Armin, bit lower on the scale. You went with 558. Brian Sutter spent a grand total a grand total of 1,786 minutes in the box for the St. Louis Blues.
All right, so there we have it.
Armin, you were great today, sir. Thank you so much for playing. We'll catch you again next time. Have a terrific weekend.
You too, guys. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Good fight, Uncle Randy, and you guys have a great weekend.
Armin, you're awesome. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks for being a part of this. I enjoyed it. You have a great weekend, too.
You too, sir. Thank you.
Take care. Armin, great guy. Good to have him with us.
Nice man.
Yeah. What
I like that he calls you Uncle Randy.
Yeah, me too.
I got a kick out of that.
By the way, I've just, because I was looking at who else was close, because I was debating about Hal McRae, who, by the way, had 1,924 hits for the Royals. Dan, do you have any idea who the Royals' all-time batting average leader is?
I mean, my first guess would be George Brett.
That would be a logical guess. That's what I would say, too.
What about Mark Sweeney?
No. Mike Sweeney, good call.
Mike Sweeney,
Mike Sweeney is third at 299.
Let's see. I'm thinking now. I'm going through these guys.
This is a total gotcha question.
Help me out.
It's Jose Offerman.
Jose Offerman. There's no chance I would have had that.
No.
None.
No, I think of him as a Dodger.
I do, too. Yeah, I definitely would have messed that up.
1 point ahead of George Brett. Billy Butler, fourth. Seitzer, who's the Braves hitting coach now, Kevin Seitzer, is their number 5. Then Wally Joyner, Hal McRae, Johnny Damon, Danny Tartable. I liked Danny Tartable. I wanted the Cardinals to get him. I'm kind of glad they didn't now.
I think I would have gone Wally Joyner.
That would have been a good call, too.
Yep.
Yeah. So there you have it. And now you know via radio. Coming up here on 101 ESPN, it's the first full weekend of NFL preseason games. What are we looking forward to this weekend? That's next on 101 ESPN.
This weekend, the MLB plays on ESPN. Tomorrow, Mariners and Mets. Game 1. Coverage starts at 8 p.m. Then Sunday, it's Game 2. Coverage starts at 5. Your home for the MLB is 101 ESPN.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at renofi.com/notices. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out.
John, I'm putting my foot down. We can't put off renovating this house any longer. Our kitchen is so small. We need to finish the basement for the kids, and don't even get me started on the bathrooms.
Honey, renovating is so expensive. We can't do all those projects.
With Renofi, we can.
What's Renofi?
Renofi loans are a new type of home equity loan
from the Car Shield studio, this is the opening drive on 101 ESPN.
First full weekend of the NFL preseason games, and a lot of things to watch this weekend. Guys, I'll tell you what, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. You've got the Commanders at the Jets, and you've got Jaden Daniels starting for Washington at quarterback, and you've got the Bears at the Bills. And obviously, Caleb Williams didn't start for the Bears, didn't play for the Bears in the Hall of Fame game against the Texans. So tomorrow, in a couple of games, at 11 o'clock in the morning for the Commanders and the Jets, and then a noon game for the Bears at the Bills, you're going to see the top two picks in the NFL draft, and that's what I'm looking forward to most this weekend.
Why are you stealing mine?
Is that what yours is?
I got a couple more I'll throw in there.
But how excited are you to see Jaden Daniels?
I'm fired up. I think it's going to be awesome to see him. And as you mentioned, pretty good Jets defense from a year ago, really last 2 years. So looking forward to watching him for sure.
This is the best time of year. I'm really excited. So this is something that I'm looking forward to because I think it's going to be a disaster, guys. The Dallas Cowboys, Randy, I know your ears perk up when I talk about this. It almost seems like Jerry Jones is wanting the Cowboys to enter a rebuild or some sort of teardown because it just continues to be confusing about what his message is. And this offseason, I think the word negligence would be the best way to describe it on Jones's part and what they really didn't do. I mean, they lost a lot of key pieces, and there's been so much drama surrounding the team about how the Cowboys haven't extended Dak Prescott or CeeDee Lamb. So Jerry Jones, as he always loves to talk to the media, yesterday he was asked about CeeDee Lamb and if he's approaching him about an extension soon.
Are you saying there's a sense of urgency as you begin the preseason to get CD done?
No.
Why you say that?
I'm just I went to high school or I went to college. I don't know why I said it, but I'm just saying I don't know. I don't have a sense of urgency about getting it done.
It's a long-standing tradition.
Pick any reason you want. I was at Nobu 2 days ago. Give that as a reason.
Yes, sir.
I don't know what in the world is funny about that. That was such a weird way to answer the question. So he went to high school, he went to college, and that's why he answered it in that way. So CeeDee Lamb, of course, saw this video on social media, and he retweeted it and said, LOL, period. So he is very upset. CeeDee Lamb is so talented. He has 5,154 or 45, receiving yards in 4 seasons with 32 touchdown catches, and he's only 25 years old. Why would you not be trying to figure out how to keep him on your team?
If I'm CeeDee Lamb, why am I on the field? I just start doing a hold-in along with everybody else. I'm not going to take the chance to get hurt. And if he wants a new deal, say, come on, pay me, and then I'll show up on the field.
Yeah.
You guys agree with that or not?
Yeah, and he's holding out.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not there, so
why do it?
Yeah, if there's no urgency on the part of the Cowboys and the owner, then there shouldn't be any urgency on the part of CeeDee Lamb until he becomes the highest paid receiver in the league. He's already getting fined $50,000 a day. So what the heck difference does it make? He knows he led the league in receiving yards last year, did he not? He knows that he's going to get the big money, and you might as well stick it to the Cowboys. They're the richest team, so you might as well just stick it to them as much as you can.
And it's all about leverage.
Yep.
And he's got a ton of it. All right, what I'm looking forward to this weekend, you mentioned Jaden Daniels. I'm looking forward to Justin Fields at Pittsburgh. Russell Wilson is out with an injury.
Yep, right.
Well, he started taking first rep snaps this week, but they've been real careful with him.
He has been ruled out.
And Michael Penix. Making his debut with Kirk Cousins out. Michael Penix will get a bulk of the snaps this weekend. And something that I was thinking about, just kind of, I think it'll be weird to watch, but I'm looking forward to it, is Jim Harbaugh back on the sidelines.
Yeah.
I like seeing Jim Harbaugh. I think he's good for football, even though he has a 4-year waiting list to get back in college or whatever it is.
Yeah, he just has to stay away from college football.
For 4 years.
Which I think he's fine with.
I do too.
When he'll be in the NFL. Everywhere he goes, he is able to change things. I think it's interesting. I haven't seen if there's any update on Herbert, but he was dealing with a foot issue, correct?
Right.
Yep.
I don't think he's going to play in the preseason at all.
So I don't know how much that will hold him back. Because is it the same thing that Harrison Bader dealt with? Was it plantar fasciitis?
Yeah.
Or is it something else?
Yeah,
plantar fasciitis.
For the rest of the
So I don't know how much does that concern you going into the season?
It does.
It's a nagging injury that if you re-injure it, you're going to miss significant time if you can't deal with it. And a lot of players, and I've seen it in baseball, a lot of players, they can't run. I mean, he can't put weight on it, so it's a real tough situation for him.
It ruined a year for Albert Pujols.
Exactly.
So, by the way, one other one that I want to touch on. How would you like to be a Raider fan and witness the quarterback competition between Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell?
That'd be miserable.
Yeah, you've got Herbert in the division. You've got Mahomes in the division. You've got Bo Nix perhaps ascending in the division. He's coached by Sean Payton. And you're the Raiders. And they had a great stretch run last year under Antonio Pierce. That is not the best quarterback situation in the league to be dealing with.
Can somebody check on Devontae Adams right now?
Yeah, poor guy.
I have another quarterback query quickly for you guys, actually. Last night, so you have the opening set series of action in the NFL. A couple of different matchups with intrigue at the quarterback position. And yet, Drake May, the Patriots' presumptive guy going forward under center, he plays for a grand total of one series. Now, yeah, Jacoby Brissett may be the guy in the regular season opener. He plays for one series. Carolina Panthers, Bryce Young. I understand he was last year's overall #1 pick. He didn't show you anything. He doesn't even play. Now, wouldn't there be some benefit here to both organizations to actually see what you have in game #1 or not last night? I didn't get that.
You would think that that's the case, but we have to come to grips with this as fans. The actual most meaningful preseason games will take place the weeks of September 4th and September 11th. The NFL teams don't care because of the concern about injury about the preseason games. They aren't going to play these guys at all in terms of extended play. So what's happened is with the 17-game schedule, games 1 and 2 of the regular season have essentially become preseason games.
Are you guys concerned at all? Excuse me, Brooke, but I love it. We talked a little bit about it yesterday. I'd rather watch the practices and the video that comes out of these guys getting after it all the time than the actual games.
Yeah.
No one's getting fined in these things, so these guys are just letting it rip, and fights are all over the place.
It's fun.
Taking helmets off, swinging at each other. Yeah.
I'm having more fun watching that.
If anybody ever gets mad in this room, we've got a helmet right behind Brooke.
Oh, and look who it's closest to.
Brooke.
So, yeah, if you want to watch our Air Alliance Team Heating and Cooling studio cam, you can just go to YouTube and
HR, that was not a threat.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't.
101 ESPN STL, and there is a helmet, a Lindenwood Lions helmet right behind Brooke Grimsley. So, let's see. Brooke, can you move a little bit to your left?
My left?
Yeah. So that we can see, there you go. Thanks. We just need to see the helmet a little bit better. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, there you have it. Coming up next year on 101 ESPN, we're going to get to the rush hour reset. We talked a little bit earlier about the Cardinals' lack of attendance this year and how they will be below 3 million for the first time in years. And we just want your reaction about that next on 101 ESPN.
Up-to-date info and breaking sports news first. All on the 101 ESPN app, in your App Store or Google Play.
Honey, are you okay? Oh my gosh. Why did you text me the SOS emoji even though I was at Pilates? What's so urgent? And who's this guy?
This guy's trying to give us 0% financing and $1,500 off a new HVAC system. This offer's too good to be true. He's trying to scam us.
Hey, I'm Ron with Swiss Air Heating and Cooling. Not only is 0% financing and $1,500 off a new heating and cooling unit, but it will also lead to reduced utility rates and 12 years parts and labor warranty. That's 144 months of worry-free operation, 20% longer than any other brand.
Honey, it's Swiss Air, the Wizards of Comfort. We can trust these guys. They're always doing the best deals. Ron, you said $1,500 off, 0% financing, reduced utility rates, and a 12-year parts and labor warranty?
Yeah, you got that right.
How soon can you get it done?
Call Swiss Air Heating and Cooling now at 636-500-COOL. Reduce utility rates, 12 years parts and labor warranty, and 0% financing. 636-500-COOL or SwissAirSTL.com.
That sounds cool.
Did you just text me the cool emoji?
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and this year we decided it was time to make a major update to our home by updating our bathroom. We have this house in U City. It's over 100 years old, and we love it, but we don't exactly love our main bathroom. So we decided to reach out to one of our great sponsors here of 101 ESPN, and that is E&B Granite. E&B Granite's team visited our house for a free consultation, and they came up with a vision of how to really transform our bathroom. My favorite part of working with E&B Granite was stopping by their amazing showroom to explore their large selection of in-stock custom countertops, all of their cabinet options. It was so much fun just really seeing the design and coming up with the colors for the new bathroom. Jen was the one who was working with us, and she was fantastic. She had so many great ideas for us that really fit within our budget. And that's what they've been doing there at E&B Granite for over 20 years, turning visions into realities. So schedule your free consultation by calling 314-645-9300 or go online at embgranite.com or stop by their showroom today and make sure you mention that I sent you.
Are we waiting on your little pill to hit home base?
No, I got a chewable. It works faster.
Oh, so we can get naughtier sooner?
And longer.
Victory Men's Health has launched VictoryRx.com. Get prescribed our #1 ED medication. It has the combined power of Cialis and Viagra in a chewable tablet and better absorption. It's easy. Get a consultation on VictoryRx.com and your ED chewable. VictoryRx.com, where men's sexual health matters.
Meet Sumner One, your go-to source for all things office technology. We're proud to be one of the largest independently owned providers in the region with 11 strategic locations across 5 states. At Sumner One, we specialize in workplace solutions, enterprise print, production print, large format solutions, cutting-edge document technology, and more. Quality, service, and innovation. That's the Sumner One advantage. Visit us online at sumner1.com. That's SUMNER1.com. Sumner One, welcome to the one place where everything works.
WXOS HD1 East St. Louis. 101 ESPN is driven by Auto Centers Nissan, home of the lifetime warranty and 30-day return. Stay up to date on all things Redbirds with Cardinals broadcaster Brad Thompson as he joins the Fast Lane every Wednesday on 101 ESPN. Go up and in with BT during high heat, powered by Scott Lee Heating Company, your preferred Mitsubishi electric elite contractor. Visit ScottLeeHeating.com. And by Rawlings. Visit the all-new Rawlings experience at Westport Plaza today. This is the opening drive on 101 ESPN. Brought to you by Sumner One. We're recapping the biggest sports stories of the day on the opening drive with a rush hour reset.
9:08 in St. Louis. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Coming up in our next segment, we're going to talk to our Blues insider from The Athletic, Jeremy Rutherford. But from The Athletic, Katie Wu joined BK and Ferrario yesterday, talking about the Cardinals being on pace to draw less than 3 million paid fans this year. And that just has not happened for the Cardinals, as they are known as the fans, the BFIB, and they always show up. But when the team has a 71-win season and then struggles to be in playoff position this year, there are a lot of people that aren't going to games. So we've asked you, and we'd love to have you text in. And there are so many reasons. One of the things that the Cardinals do, and I don't know if you guys get this when you go to games. Every game I've gone to this year as a fan, I've gotten an email asking how we did, and they're getting surveys back. So whatever it is that the Cardinals are not doing right, they're hearing from the people that are at the games. They need to find out about the people that aren't at the games. I don't know how you do that unless you're listening to us.
I guess you could reach out to former season ticket holders that decided not to renew and see what the consensus is on why they wouldn't want to return. I think that we touch on a lot of great things. And Dan, you brought up the TV situation, how that has hindered a lot of things because out of sight, out of mind. That has a lot to do with it. I think the product on the field is a text that we keep seeing over and over again of who is the superstar on this team. Dan, you posed that question of who's the superstar that you're going to go and pay and spend a lot of money on. Mason Wynn is really exciting, but let's be honest here. Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt are the big money guys, and they've been underperforming during the majority of the season. Gave them credit earlier for their performance last night. From the 2-1-0, I sent several therapy messages on this yesterday. Average product equals average attendance.
Average product equals average attendance. Okay, I can buy in with that, because will fans buy in, or is it wait and see on making a run and winning baseball? I still go back to the one factor of this whole thing, and it's really easy. Win.
Yes.
You win, people come out. Now, are there superstars that are on this team? Absolutely. Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, are they living up to what we're accustomed to? No. Would I pay to go watch Mason Wynn? Yes. Do I think a lot of fans would? I could be wrong about this, and I may be in the minority. I don't know if they would at this point in his career, but as things move on, I think that could happen. But go back to the original point, guys. I think you just got to win, and if you win, people come out.
The last time the Cardinals had a non-COVID season in which they didn't draw 3 million fans was a year where they didn't make the playoffs. 2003, they drew 2.91 million. Before that, the previous time they had drawn less than 3 million was 1997 when they were 73 and 89. Got McGuire down the stretch that year. But to go for that long, if you go back to 1997, since 1998, the Cardinals have only had that one non-COVID season where they didn't draw more than 3 million fans. That's 25 years in which you've drawn 3 million fans every year except one.
Don't you think, too, there's a little bit of the residual effect of last year?
Yes.
I mean, teams are fans are put off by what the team did last year. Now, I think you give the organization a lot of credit because that is an outlier, and they're back to where they at least have a chance at postseason play. But I think a lot of people, like I said before, just kind of wait and see with this team, and they're waiting late into the season because there's less than 2 months to go.
From the 618, all of my sports spending has shifted to City. I'm tired of Moselog. They need to bring people back with a big play in the offseason. And we kind of touched on this about if there was a big move like Dylan Cease during the offseason or something like that. And Sonny Gray was a great pickup, but we've talked about this. You need that 1-2 punch. You see a lot of the great teams have that with their starting rotation. So maybe a bigger offseason move that was a little bit more different than what we've seen. But I do understand kind of the point of some of the offseason moves and even sometimes trade deadline. It's the same formula over and over again, but there could be a lot of financial restraints under that.
I think the Cardinals need to recognize that because we talked about it the other day. You can look at this logically from the Cardinals' point of view and say they can run it back with basically the same group that they have on hand.
Yeah.
Maybe they need to make change for the sake of change just to get people excited.
The 618 says, I believe people are afraid to go downtown, especially at night, until the city can get control of the crime in downtown St. Louis more, and more people are going to opt out going to the game. As much as I hate saying it, I said earlier, that's a factor.
It is, and especially with people getting their cars broken into. It's not just violent crime. It's crimes of robbery and people just violating you by breaking the windows in your cars and stuff like that.
Happened to my son.
Did it?
Yeah, happened to my son. He was downtown and was going to, I can't remember what it was, city game or concert or baseball game, but yeah, got his car smashed in and got things stolen.
And it shouldn't even be a political thing. This is just more about people wanting to understand that when they go to an event, wherever it is, if it's downtown, county, or anything like that, that their safety is the top priority. And so I think that that is a very valid concern. I used to work downtown, so I understand. When I left work, I would definitely see a lot of things that you didn't want to see happening at night. So I understand the concerns there. And I think another thing that I keep seeing over and over again is from the 314, you can't underestimate inflation. And that's the thing, is that people, if you're winning, if it's an exciting product, if you have maybe a couple superstars that you want to see, you have no problem using that extra money, that expendable money, to go and be entertained. But when inflation is so high right now, and going to even the grocery store is so expensive, I can understand how when you're cutting things out of your budget, that might be one of the first things is the Cardinals game.
Pre-COVID, Brooke and Dan, I think Busch Stadium was kind of like the place to be seen. I think now City Park, at least last year and the beginning part of this year, City Park was the place to be seen. So you could say, oh, yeah, I was there.
Yeah.
But now I don't think that's the case. And I don't know if COVID had to do with that. I don't know why. But it used to be that Cardinal baseball was an event that people wanted to attend. And now it's a game, but I don't get the sense that it is. And the circles that I run in, I don't think that it's the event that it was in the past. And maybe that goes back to not having the star, not having the guy that is 2 years ago they drew because they had the glamour boy, right? In Albert. Maybe they need to have another glamour boy.
In the 314, to your point, to follow it up, if Goldie and Arenado were producing, the team would be in first place and attendance a non-issue.
Yeah.
Man, we put a lot on Goldie and Arenado, don't we?
Sure do, but it's not wrong.
No.
They're making a lot of money.
Yep. Yeah.
I keep seeing parking being brought up a lot, too. Would you say on average it's probably about 40, 50 per game?
50 is the high end. For the Cubs series a couple of weeks ago, it was 50. I would say normally it's in the 20 or 30 range. I would think next time they come home for a weekend against the Doyers, it'll probably be 50. But I think that's an issue, absolutely, that if you have to pay $30 for parking, it's just the concept of parking your car for $30 that I think a lot of people are offended by.
To me, a non-issue should be tickets and how expensive they are. You can go to a game very relatively cheap.
No doubt.
I mean, they have $5 tickets and ticket fests and all these different things where you go for $6 and get a hot dog and a soda and all that kind of stuff. So, but you're right. I mean, I think the other part of it is that, you got issues, all these different issues right now. But I don't think that tickets and how much they are should be a factor because they're affordable. They still are affordable. It's the other things that you look at, parking, to your point, Brooke, and other things, trying to feed a family of 4 down there, not an easy thing to do. Yeah, so those are all factors looking at what's happening now. But we can talk about this till we're blue in the face. Go win, people will show up.
Exactly.
There is a special that they have going now, and if I'm not mistaken, is it 4 or 5 that they had going on? And so, I'm with you, Dan. I don't think that ticket prices should be as much of a factor as people make them out to be. But parking, and by the way, every time I've gone recently, we've taken a cooler in because we've gone on hot days. You can take a cooler full of bottled water, but you can take food and drink in a soft side cooler that fits under your seat too. Coming up next, we're going to talk a little Blues hockey and other stuff with our buddy Jeremy Rutherford of The Athletic. And then at the bottom of the hour, we're going to return to this topic. And you can leave us a mic drop if you so desire with the 101 ESPN app. Just use the mic drop feature, and we'll take more of your texts as well here on 101 ESPN.
From the opening drive, the balloon party, BK and Ferrario, to the fast lane and more. If you missed anything on 101 ESPN today, get caught up with all the shows and 101 podcasts at 101ESPN.com or on your 101 mobile app.
Driven by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers.
The summer heat wave sale is on at Auto Centers Nissan. You can select new Nissans and have rates as low as 0% APR and for terms as long as 84 months, and that's all throughout the month of August. You can save big on select new Nissans with thousands in Nissan bonus cash and dealer discounts. It's their lowest prices of 2024, and they are live. Qualified buyers can take advantage of 0 down, plus take a break from their car payment for 3 months. With over 700 vehicles all in one location out in Herculaneum, you're bound to find the perfect car that fits your lifestyle and your budget at Auto Centers Nissan. First-time buyers or those with credit challenges have options too. They have the perfect deal regardless of your situation. Auto Centers Nissan is just a short and easy drive on I-55, and they're ready to earn your business with a fast, fair, and fun car buying experience. 30-day new car return promise, complimentary lifetime warranty on new Nissans and eligible used vehicles, complimentary 1-year maintenance on new Nissan purchases. It's Auto Centers Nissan. Tell them Stalter sent you.
AM 101 ESPN for the second annual Blues and Brews on Friday night, September 20th at Anheuser-Busch. Get fired up for the Blues season at this great outdoor street party featuring live music from country music star Matt Stell and St. Louis's own Charles Glenn Group, plus appearances by Blues players and alumni, food trucks, 101 ESPN giveaways, and more. Tickets just $20 and on sale now. Learn more at 101ESPN.com. And speaking of the Blues, we go to the celebrity line, and our buddy, our Blues insider from The Athletic, Jeremy Rutherford, joins us. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Good morning. Good morning. Just hearing Charles Glenn puts a smile on my face. So thanks for mentioning his name. What a legend.
He's one of the best. JR, I know that you've been listening and you wanted to weigh in on what we were talking about with people not attending Cardinal games downtown.
Yeah, no, I just think it's an interesting conversation, and I feel like I can speak with some context here just because I do have a 15-year-old daughter and an 11-year-old son. And, you know, just being honest here, we probably make it to 2 games a year. And the reason they want to go, I'll just be blunt here, is the experience. My son, it doesn't matter. You could give him green seats, and he'd pass them up and say, I want to sit in the bleachers, I want to sit by the bullpen, and I want to see if I can get a ball. Brandy, I bet you we got about 10 baseballs up in his room just from sitting by the bullpen. The players are great about tossing them up into the crowd. I'm 49 years old. I don't think I ever got a ball, a foul ball, a ball tossed from a player. But he loves that aspect of the game, and that's why he wants to go down there. You know, I think that you could ask him about the 2 games that we went to this year, and he couldn't tell you who won, what the score was. And he doesn't necessarily ask to go down and see any specific players play. You know, Danny, we remember back in the day, I used to tell my dad, I want to go down and see Vince Coleman run the bases. And I'll never forget getting to the game, and I got so mad at my dad. We got to the game about 20 minutes late, and we missed 2 Vince Coleman stolen bases in the first inning, and I held it against him for a long time. So I think my kids are getting there with Mason Wynn in a quick hurry. We were fortunate enough to meet him a few weeks ago and get a picture taken with him. And now whenever he comes up to bat or makes a play in the field, you know, that's all you hear about is Mason Wynn. So I think you guys are right about that star power. Obviously, that can get kids wanting to go to the game. But as far as I can speak, my kids like going down there for the engagement and being at the ballpark. But you just can't do it that often. It's pretty expensive. And, you know, just one more point on the parking. I think that's a real deal. I really do. You got 2 or 3 options. You're either paying $40 or you're going to park at what you think is a meter that you're putting money into is going to be fine. You're going to come back to a ticket regardless. It doesn't matter. There could be a sign 100 feet down the street that says no parking. You're going to come back to a ticket, or you're going to be parking in a sketchy area. And that really does weigh on my mind when I decide whether to take the family.
Jeremy, kind of looking at this with the Blues, with their attendance last year, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot because I'm not going to ask for specific numbers, but just kind of eyeballing it. How was attendance last year for the Blues? Because obviously missing the playoffs, that's tough, but I feel like when I watched some of the games towards the end, you still had a lot of fan support from for the team.
It was amazing, Brooke. It was amazing. I remember sitting in the press box a couple times last year, and we would even comment on that. Like, you know, here's a team that's in a retool, probably not going to make the playoffs, especially after that home loss to Nashville. And then at the trade deadline, you know, nothing happened there. But yet they were coming out strong, the fans were. And, you know, ever since I've started covering the Blues in 2006, I've been impressed with fans and how they continue to come out. And that's not just blowing smoke. Like, it's genuine. You talk to fans. They always stick behind the team, even when you're going through times like this. I remember the stretch in 2006 to 2010-ish before they started to get better. You know, it was a little light back then, but they were still coming. And when I talked to Tom Stillman a few months ago for a piece I did, and I talked about a complete rebuild, and if you stripped it down, and we did a poll at The Athletic, and there was about 30% of fans that probably wouldn't come in that situation. He said that's a large chunk, and we don't know if we can withstand a situation with our business where we can afford to miss 30 to 40% of the fans. So I think that's why they want to continue to put competitive players on the ice, put a team on the ice that can make the playoffs. And, hey, they know they're going through something here, and they feel like they're going to get to the other side in a couple years. But in the meantime, they want to put the fans in the seats, and these Blues fans really have continued to respond.
So to further that point, do you think that continues in a retool? Do you think there's, at any point from the front office, concern about attendance, or do you think fans accept what's happening and they just enjoy going down to the rink?
I think they enjoy it for one, Danny, but I think also, Tom Stillman and Doug Armstrong, they have their mindset on a retool and not going into a rebuild for the reason that I just mentioned, but for the other reason that they think they can continue to be competitive. I realize that the moves this offseason probably didn't wow anybody. I probably think that, I've even heard from some fans, gosh, there's some money to spend. Why not go out and get a guy for the second line? But I think that they feel like the team can be about where it was last year, 90-plus points, potentially make the playoffs. And in the meantime, these young guys are going to grow. And, in fact, some of these young guys, like a Dvorsky, might grow into that second-line role that you were going to go spend $6 or $8 million on. So I think anytime you talk to Tom Stillman, Doug Armstrong, it's retool. There's no thought about a rebuild.
JR, what are some of the things that you're working on that you have coming up at The Athletic?
Yeah, lots of stuff, guys. I had a piece come out yesterday that talked about Drew Bannister, and he's doing everything he can to get out and about and talk to as many players in person. He stressed that he wants to be respectful for their downtime, and they don't want the coach necessarily pulling into town. But he did say that while he was in Minnesota to attend his daughter's hockey tournament, he met with Justin Falk, and they had a good talk. I think he's spoken with Robert Thomas. He said, Robert Thomas, you guys know Robert from the show, that he recently had a baby, a little daughter, Tatum, and Drew Bannister also has a daughter, Tatum, so they found they had that in common. He's trying to find some common threads with a lot of these players so that he can relate to them. And, honestly, he said, you don't want to be in January walking down the hallway. You're sick of talking to the guy about hockey, but you pass Justin Falk in the hallway, and now you can talk to him about fishing, hunting, things that you talked about that night in Minnesota when you met up with them. So, kind of interesting thoughts from Drew Bannister and Justin Falk and some of the players in that article. And then next week, we want to touch on a few things. Doug Armstrong said they wanted to get faster. Well, guess what? There's NHL edge numbers now that show you player speed and quantify that. And so we're going to ask the question, did the Blues get faster? And then we have a few more stories. So lots coming up. We're going to start picking up the pace a little bit with these stories as we get closer to training camp.
You mentioned how guys get faster. I'm always fascinated with analytics in sports. How much is that used in the game of hockey?
Yeah, no, a lot as far as the analytics in terms of, shots while you're on the ice, how certain players work together. The one story that comes to mind, Danny, I'll never forget is, Ken Hitchcock, he adapts with the game. He wouldn't have been as successful as he was if he did not adapt. But I think at first he was a little suspect of the analytics. And he told us a story one time. He said that he comes back to his office after the first period, and he has a piece of paper from the analytics people on his desk. And it basically says these three players aren't working together analytically. And that's exactly what he was seeing on the ice, too. And he said maybe there is something to this. So he started paying attention a little bit more. So, I know that, people pay attention a little bit to the analytics in baseball. But with hockey, it does get pretty deep in terms of looking at these three guys on the ice, this line combination. What do they generate offensively? How are they defensively? And I do think it's becoming a bigger part of the game.
JR, great stuff as always. Thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it, and have a great weekend.
Yep, we'll talk to you guys next week. Thanks.
See you. That's Jeremy Rutherford, our Blues insider from The Athletic, always with good stuff here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, we're going to touch a little bit more on the Cardinals' attendance issues and what you're thinking, and you can send us a mic drop if you have your app open right now. Even if you don't, open up the app, send us a mic drop or send us a text about your feelings about why the Cardinals are headed towards drawing less than 3 million fans for the first time since 2003. That's next on 101 ESPN.
Coverage of 101 ESPN is presented by Under Law Injury Lawyers. GetJim.com.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and I want to tell you why I love the Missouri Athletic Club. It's because it really feels like I've joined a community. I love going over to the West location and having lunch over there. Getting the chicken buffalo wrap is my favorite thing with the sweet potato fries. If you know, you know. It's delicious. Also, I play tennis over there. Getting back into it with Scott has been so much fun. That's a sport I played my entire life, and it's just been fun to find a group of people to play with. And I also go over there to work out with Christine, my personal trainer. It's been amazing working with her, and I'm seeing a lot of great results. They always provide such a wonderful experience, and that's why I love my MAC.
Summer's greatest hits are going on now, and Macy's one-day sale has deals so good they won't last long. Shop incredible limited-time specials like back-to-school looks for $20 and under. Great home updates like bath towels now $6.99, and 50 to 70% off fine jewelry. Because why not? Don't wait. Our one-day sale and Sunday night at Macy's. Savings off already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
Hey, what are you doing up on the step stool?
About to clean these light fixtures. The whole family's coming over. And if there's even a speck of dust in the house, my abuela will find it.
Here, I got a Swiffer duster to help with that.
A Swiffer what?
A Swiffer duster. It has this cool extendable handle that reaches 6 feet to get high and low, with fluffy dusters that easily trap and lock dust.
So, no more step stool?
No more step stool.
Easily trap and lock dust from hard-to-reach places with the Swiffer duster. Love it or your money back.
Since 1961, one name has stood as a beacon of fine dining in St. Louis, Charcoal House.
Take the fast lane home weekdays from 2 to 6 p.m. with Anthony Stalter, Jamie Rivers, and Carrie Davis on 101 ESPN. Two former pros and one average Joe. The fast lane is driven by Scrap Mart Metals Recycling. 101 ESPN Sports Center.
Cards aim to turn the page at Kauffman. I'm Bradford Bruns with a Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Following last night's series finale loss versus Tampa, St. Louis visits Kansas City in a little under 10 hours. Miles Michaelis starts for Ali Marmol. Michael Lorenzen, meanwhile, opposes Mason Wynn and company. Standings-wise, Milwaukee owns that 7-game central edge. Evening soccer, City SC will host Portland. NFL preseason action features Atlanta, Miami, as well as Houston, Pittsburgh tomorrow afternoon. Team USA basketball seeks gold against France. This Sports Center update was driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
This is the opening drive on 101 ESPN. Brought to you by Sumner One.
We do appreciate your texts and your mic drops to the opening drive on 101 ESPN. Cardinals, and Katie Wu mentioned this yesterday with BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Cardinals are headed towards their first season of less non-COVID season, we should qualify, of less than 3 million fans since 2003. And we want your input as to why, and if your idea is how the Cardinals could get people to come back, we'd like to hear from you as well. Text line is open, and we have a mic drop with the 101 ESPN app. Here's David.
You know, we can talk about the product all day, but what I'm afraid is they're going to turn this into fans not showing up to support the team, therefore we can't spend dollars going forward. Baseball attendance, sports attendance is down around the country. The economy, people are penny pinching. It's not as easy as buying a $5 ticket and just going down to the game. There's way more variables.
Well, I would kind of disagree. Last year, baseball set an attendance record with the new rules in place, and around baseball this year they're trending towards similar type numbers. So I don't think nationally that's the case. I do think that the quality of the team has something to do with it. Discretionary income, the economy plays a huge role. But I would suggest that for this particular situation, there are other things at play.
Major League Baseball saw a 9.6 increase in attendance from 2022 to 2023, and I think it has a lot to do with the rule changes. But I am kind of curious, too, because you guys have brought this up before. The games actually go a lot faster than I expected. I remember the first time I went to a game after they implemented the pitch clock, and I went to go get one of those chicken sandwiches, the Shack one, which is delicious with the donut.
Oh, yeah,
and
great.
It was moving really quickly, and I was like, oh, whoa, wait a minute. It's like I need to have my food ready to go because of how quickly the games are moving. At least it feels like it. I think it shaves off on average, nearly 30 minutes now per game with the pitch clock?
2.5 hours basically is what you're in for.
I think the first month of this season was the highest in terms of attendance in Major League Baseball history.
Yeah.
I mean, so they were drawing fans across the board in Major League Baseball. In terms of the payroll and how it relates to people coming through the turnstiles, yes, there's some truth to that. You need payroll to be predicated on a lot of different things. And that's one of them, butts in the seats. But I think the other part of this is the RSN situation and television and how that money is going to be allocated and how much money is coming in from that.
I think that's a bigger issue. That being said, when the Cardinals have made big moves in the past, when they re-signed Holiday to the $120 million contract, when they traded for Larry Walker, one of the things that Bill DeWitt has consistently said when they hold the press conferences is we can do this because our fans are giving us such great support. The Cardinals, more than most teams, generate revenue from ticket sales. So if the Cardinals do say, or even if they don't say, if they don't get anybody, I think it's not unreasonable. That's a double negative. It is reasonable to equate people attending games to payroll.
Sure. I mean, you have all these different ways and avenues to bring in money, and that's one of them. They've talked about that a lot, Randy, is that as much as the fans come out to the ballpark, we'll reinvest that into the product. I go back to McGuire and half of 97 and then all of 98 and then all of 99. He hits 70 in 98, 65 in 99, and people are coming to the ballpark, and then immediately they reinvested that into getting Darryl Kyle and Dave Veers and Fernando Vina and Edgar Renteria. I mean, all these guys came in knowing that they're going to have to pay him, so you tip your cap to them for that because fans were coming through the turnstiles, and they reinvested that into the salary. So there's a couple of different ways to look at it, many different ways to look at it, but attendance still is important.
And payroll, I think, with this is really interesting, an interesting conversation, because just comparing with the Royals, obviously that's who the Cardinals are about to face here. So the Cardinals are currently 12th in total payroll this season. The Royals are 20th. And I think that being efficient sometimes with the spending is a big part of that. The Cardinals, there's a misconception that they don't spend. They do spend. I think that their starting rotation is it top 10 when it comes to seventh? There we go, seventh in all of Major League Baseball. So they do spend, but sometimes the efficiency is the big part of there. The Royals, with being 20th, their ROI, their return on investment, is really big, especially with what they did with Bobby Witt Jr., how aggressive they were in locking him up to a deal.
The Cardinals have, it's been a long time since the Cardinals have had a deal like that work out. It was when they signed Albert Pujols in 2004 to the 7-year, $100 million deal. Cardinals have not had a big, efficient contract in quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair to say that they spend money. They do, but it's how efficient are you with what you spend it on? And I think that's a valid point for sure.
And a lot of it is within their control. A lot of it is outside their control. Steven Matz, to me, is outside their control. That's $11 million that has been basically ineffective this year. But when they signed Carpenter to the extension that they signed him to a few years ago, that was a really inefficient expenditure of money. There have been multiple situations like that. Let's get one more mic drop. This is Missouri Steven here on 101 ESPN.
Morning, guys. I think our issue here with fan attendance has to do with two things. One, our economy. I mean, let's be honest, it's not great. I don't want to make this a political rant, but our government has done an abysmal job putting money in our pockets. So that's an issue. And issue two is, I think you're right, Randy. I think the growing fatigue of Mo. For how many years now have we heard the same exact thing out of his mouth? And we all know what his favorite word is. Patience. Yes, you guessed it.
I listened to Mo, and Mo said that he senses fatigue.
So he said that in an interview on Channel 5.
He did, yeah. So I'm just going to go with what he says. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think some of the things that we're coming up with is that, number one, maybe you have to win. That, to me, would be number one. And then a jumbled up way if you want to go 2, 3, and 4. But I would say the economy is in there. Superstars, are you coming to play? Are you coming to watch them play? Crime in downtown St. Louis. I think these are all issues that they have to deal with moving forward and trying to get people back to the ballpark.
And I would love to be able to play the economy card. But if that's the case, then why are the Royals up $3,700 a game?
I think part of that is Bobby Witt Jr.
It is.
So if people have a product to purchase, they'll purchase it.
Yeah, you got your superstar.
Yeah.
To me, I'd pay to go watch that guy play. There aren't many that I'd say individually, I'm going to spend my money on an individual to go watch him play. He's one of them.
He is.
He's one of them. And I think the perception is that the Royals invested in their best player. And they've had so many times where guys hit free agency and they're gone.
Yep.
And they've had good players and they leave. And this time they said, nope, we're going to invest in this player. We're going to give him the proper market value, which was hundreds of millions of dollars, and we're saying that this is our guy. Now, it shouldn't be overlooked. They're trying to get a new stadium, and that's one way to do it, too. You sign up, invest in your product and make sure that your best player stays your best player in town. All those things, I think, are factors in Kansas City in seeing that their payroll or their attendance goes up a little, and they're a much better team.
Pittsburgh and St. Louis are essentially the same market, except we don't have an NFL team. They do. Last year, Pittsburgh averaged 20,100 per game. This year, they got Paul Skeens, and they're averaging 22.7.
Can you imagine if Paul Skeens was an everyday player, too?
Yeah, right.
Like every fifth day, I'm going to watch him pitch.
Yep.
So if you had an everyday player, that probably goes up even more, Randy.
So, again, I will acquiesce that there is no doubt that the economy doesn't allow us to buy with the same dollar what we bought 5 years ago. But it's not preventing people in other cities from going to ball games.
From the 636, if you win, they will come.
Bottom line.
That's what I'm saying.
That's it.
We can talk about all these other things, but if they were winning and they were in an entertaining style of winning too, ball in play, not many strikeouts, your occasional home run, boom, 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 your superstars are being superstars, and you win, people come to the ballpark.
Absolutely. Thanks very much for your mic drops. We do appreciate it. Thank you very much for your texts here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, we're going to head down the stretch with Burnin with Bradford. You know what we should do? We should give away some Green Day tickets. Want to do that?
Yes.
We will. Next on 101 ESPN.
Check out the 11th annual Songs for Soldiers benefit concert on Friday night, September 13th and Saturday night, September 14th in Columbia, Illinois. It's a family-friendly event with headlining live music from Chris Jansen on that Friday night and from Gin Blossoms on Saturday night. Plus, enjoy cold beverages, local food, kids' activities, and more. Tickets are on sale now with 100% of the proceeds going toward the Songs for Soldiers mission of helping combat veterans. Get more details on this year's Songs for Soldiers benefit concert at songsforsoldiersstl.org.
Let's rock. Let's rock today.
Hey, we've got your chance to win a pair of lawn tickets to see Green Day with special guest Rancid next Thursday, August 15th at Hollywood Casino Amphitheater. A limited amount of tickets are still available for the show, and you can find all the details at 101ESPN.com, plus a bonus chance to register to win tickets to Green Day on the app or at 101ESPN.com. But right now, we've got a question for you, and if you text in to 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO, and you're the correct caller, you can win a pair of tickets, lawn tickets to see Green Day next Thursday evening. And Bradford Bruns has the question.
Don't you look at me like that, Dan.
What? I'm just watching. I'm watching the whole
shtick.
Yeah, the whole thing, man.
Almost jumped in late to the party there.
I know you
I
did.
thought you were about to do that again.
On it. All right, here we go. Earlier in the show, we recognized one of the greatest female basketball players in history. Dan, I believe, said the name first. Please tell us the 5-time Olympic champion still kicking it in Paris, who was referenced earlier on the show. Female women's basketball great. Who was the name?
All right, that's a good one. And we will take texter number 10, I guess. We'll do texter number 10 for that. All right, what's burning, Bradford?
A little more symmetry along the lines of USA basketball. Guys, we spent a good deal of time, 7:15 segment on the show, and after the program, invite you out there in the audience to listen to the podcast, track it down, because we had a lively, spirited conversation about USA first and foremost knocking off Serbia yesterday in a very competitive affair, and then moving on to the gold medal contest tomorrow versus France. Now, far be it from me to question anything really with legitimacy that one Charles Barkley says about the sport of basketball, knowing far more than me, than anybody else in this room will ever he will forget far more than we will ever know. Having said that, when he appeared on these airwaves, ESPN National Radio yesterday night on Amber and Ian, I was a bit quizzical when he was commenting on Steve Kerr's rotations, not only in the game versus Serbia, in the Olympics overall, and just how Kerr has gone about sitting certain guys, the overall adjustments that Steve Kerr has made. Take a listen.
He has not used his team properly. We should never be a debate on guys getting to play and not getting to play. Whoever you throw out there, like I say, they're going to have an advantage against 99.9% of the people in the world. So you use the depth of your advantage. The one thing that Chuck Daly did, he says, you guys going to play the first 10 minutes, you guys going to play the second 10 minutes, and you're going to wear them down because, number one, if they go to their bench, you're going to have a huge advantage. But if you keep their starters in the game, you're going to get worn down. So you use your depth to your advantage.
Here's my biggest takeaway. Chuck obviously referenced his head coach from 1992, Chuck Daly. Okay. In 2024, against all of these high-octane, extremely talented squads from other nations who have done nothing but grow in the subsequent 20 years since the Dream Team put it on all of them back in Barcelona. You can't go with the same pre-programmed lineups. The game isn't played in the same way. You can't specifically say, okay, you get your 10 minutes here, full wholesale changes. Kerr did some of that in the exhibition contests. And now he has figured out an alignment, really, that has worked for him. You have 4 MVPs out on the floor in the fourth quarter. You have guys rotating as far as Embiid, Curry, James, Durant, everybody embracing different responsibilities that you wouldn't be able to see during the better part of a regular NBA campaign.
And each of the 5 games, if I'm not mistaken, that they played in the Olympics, they've gotten off to a relatively slow start and gotten better and better and better, even with the lineups and the rotations that Steve Kerr has used. Seems like the fourth quarter has been their best quarter in every single game.
And that's coaching, is it not? That's coaching and it's execution. And one step farther, physical distance, Charles Barkley also had some recommendations for what needs to happen tomorrow versus France.
Just play everybody. That's what you do. You play everybody. I mean, you got to use your depth to your advantage. Listen, you can't putting Jason Tatum in an NBA game. He's going to be better than 99% of the guys already in the world, but especially guys who coming from a foreign country. So you just kind of keep your guys on a treadmill and keep them rolling around.
And Brooke, we've talked about this. It's questionable for some, even at this stage of the Olympics. Tatum, his minutes, they have ebbed and flowed. And we were curious early on in the festivities in Paris, why exactly is this NBA champion, one of the finest players in the world, why is he not getting more extended run out there? And yet other guys in Steve Kerr's system have emerged. You have Devin Booker playing phenomenal basketball. Right now, where are you going to be able to squeeze the minutes for Jason Tatum? Who are you going to sit? That's the question, and that, I think, is the flaw in the mentality there.
I think what's interesting, though, what you could do is throw more bodies like at Jokic yesterday. Like defensive lockdown, they were awesome going down the stretch. But to his point, sending waves of fresh bodies at Jokic, that would have made a little bit more sense than just saying 5 in, 5 out, because there's got to be some symmetry, too, with these guys. And I think that's maybe being overlooked. I mean, I'm not going to argue with Charles Barkley. He's an expert on this stuff, but that's just something I look at.
And I think if Anthony Davis hadn't picked up a couple of relatively early fouls, maybe you see that sort of equation. Bam Adebayo has been very good in the Olympics, too. I just don't see the kerfuffle here that so many people seem to have when you're facing an entirely different level of competition globally. We don't have it in perspective right now.
That's what I was going to say, kind of as a counterpoint, is that are we really surprised that some of these games are that close? Because the world has gotten so much better at basketball because of teams like the Dream Team. I mean, the 90s basketball, I mean, even before that, but basketball has gotten so much better across the world. I don't think it's that surprising that it's a tougher competition. And you're going to be facing Wemby now for the gold medal. This is going to be a fantastic game.
And, Brooke, it's not just the players, but the coaching internationally has gotten a lot better, too. So they're able to react to your moves. Charles, 92 team was able just to play their game, and they got together 2 weeks before the Olympics, and they were able to play that game. You can't do that anymore on the international stage. You have to have a team and a plan and a group of players that understand what the plan is. And as Grant Hill and Steve Kerr have both said, yeah, you can put a group of NBA All-Stars out there, but other teams are trying to win and have ways to win, too. So you have to coach it within the confines of a system. And yesterday, they did use LeBron down the stretch, but the reason that they have 3 centers is specifically for yesterday's game. And Embiid sat in one game. The reason that Tatum sat yesterday is specifically because of Jokic. And they sat Embiid in a game when they weren't going against a team with such size. My guess would be that there's a chance that Tatum sits again tomorrow because you've got Wemby and Gobert.
Isn't it amazing to take a guy that's that good and can't find the floor?
Yeah.
That's how much talent this team has. I keep going back to it. Germany had 10 years together with the basic same amount of players.
Yeah.
And these guys are thrown together trying to find combinations. It's not an easy thing to do.
And by the way, the best pure point guard on this team is probably Tyrese Halliburton, and he never plays.
Yeah.
The best point guard in the league played for Canada, but the best. Would you agree with that? Obviously, the point guard for this team is LeBron James.
Yeah.
But the best pure point guard on the team is a guy that never plays, right?
I'm not going to disagree with you, and I think 4 years from now, if he isn't your number one at the next games, you have a problem then. Yeah. Definitely.
So it's not an affront to Tatum. It's everybody, and everybody's minutes are going to be limited. And the fact of the matter is, you've got Kevin Durant coming off the bench.
Right. I thought, too, the way that he rotated and then found a combination with the lockdown defense at the end of the game. I'm not taking those guys out.
No.
I'm just not.
Well,
I mean, the momentum and the defense was the changing point of the game.
And you've got 3 legends that are in their final Olympics. There's no doubt that James, Durant, and Curry are not going to play in another Olympics, but they're still at the top of their games. So I have no problem at all, and especially from a political standpoint, if you're Steve Curry, you have to play Steph Curry. I have no problem with seeing those superstars. And next time, I believe Tatum is 26, right?
Yes.
Next Olympics in LA, he'll be 30. And he'll be in his prime, and he'll get his opportunity.
Yeah, makes sense. It really does.
Do you think that he came in expecting that he'd be playing more minutes, though, because of everything that he had just done, winning a championship?
Probably.
Yeah, I think every one of these guys came in like that.
Yeah. Jaylen Brown expected to be on the team.
Yeah, that's true. He was not happy about that one.
And you have guys such as Jalen Brunson who aren't even there. Think about 4 years from now how this team could look. And from Tatum's standpoint, you get it when you think about just how much of more of an integral role that he played 3 or 4 years ago. But at the same time, obviously, you didn't have LeBron. You didn't have Curry there. And I'm going to be really interested to see, Dan, as you had intimated there as well, tomorrow when this game seemingly on paper calls for a greater variety of and just supply overall of big men to contend with France. At the same time, it's pretty interesting that France actually knocked off Germany with very few contributions from Gobert. Not playing them on the floor at the same time very much.
Right. One other note here. I think that these key players within the union of the NBA, Embiid, Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, they need to lobby for a 1-month, 12-game season because it's perfect for them. Because Anthony Davis is going to get hurt if he plays more than 12 games. Embiid's going to get hurt if he plays more than 12. And you just need Durant is at that point in his career. So just have a 12-game, 1-month season, and they'll be dominant.
I love it.
Okay.
I love it.
Did you honestly
talk to the union?
Did you honestly see how Embiid handled himself for long, protracted stretches against Jokic? This is a guy who has been accused of dodging that big-time one-on-one matchup in the regular season, and he was a totally different player.
Yeah, he was.
He was awesome.
Yep. We have a balloon party with T-Mac and Ajax. Or no, T-Mac is Grant Francis in? Or is Ajax here?
No, T-Mac is right there.
I know T-Mac is, but
where's Jackson?
Yeah.
Jackson, sorry, I didn't hear that portion.
I don't see him. Great job today by our fill-in. He's a bench player, but he's not a bench player. He's awesome. It's like Kevin Durant coming off the bench.
Yeah,
wow.
Yes, that is a good comparison.
Bradford runs in for Matthew Rocchio. Great job, sir. Thank you.
Randy, that may well have been the best compliment I have received. I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. Have a great weekend to the audience, too.
Thank you, brother. Brooke, did you have fun today?
Yes, and I'm seeing your favorite tonight.
Can you sing us just one line?
Dan, why is he making me do this?
Because it's Randy.
You've done it before. Come on.
Can you take me higher?
Oh, Creed.
Creed.
Have a great time.
I need to sing
Danny Mac, you're the best. Have a great weekend. Buddy. Hey, we thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of this fine program for all of us until Monday morning at 7. And I will be here Monday morning at 7, by the way.
Yeah, you've been gone.
I have, yeah. Don't just have a great weekend. Have an American weekend.
That's right.
Join 101 ESPN for the second annual Blues and Brews on Friday, September 20th at the Anheuser-Busch Brewery. Get fired up for the blues season at this outdoor street party featuring live music from country music star Matt Stell and St. Louis's own Charles Glenn Group, plus appearances by blues players and alumni, food trucks, 101 giveaways, and more. Tickets are on sale now for Blues and Brews presented by Bud Light, 101 ESPN, and 92.3 WIL. Get all the details for Blues and Brews at 101ESPN.com.